Hey everybody. How is everyone? And here's Mr. Paul saying hello. Yeah, I'm on, Mr. Paul. Hey everybody, welcome aboard. It's Friday, 100 hours Universal Time. That time of the week where we talk about radio. Hope you enjoy the show today. I'm gonna just readjust a few things. So hope you have fun. Mr. Paul saying hi to everybody. Yeah, Mr. Paul. Oh man. Hey everyone, welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave radio show. We are live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This is a show about radio every Fridays at 2000 hours UTC. And we will be, of course, talking about radio. We will be listening or trying to listen to the BBC Midsummer Antarctic broadcast at 21:30 UT in an hour and a half from now. And we'll just have a lot of fun talking about radio. Talking a little bit about the expedition of the summer to Perry Island, and a few things that I've done also at the same time. And we're gonna just enjoy ourselves. My location is Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we, of course, talk about everything from 0 to 30 megahertz, and hope that you'll enjoy the show today. There's a beautiful chat room for those that don't know, and you can ask questions, chat with others, and have a lot of fun. A very nice gang too. It's one of those places where hanging out is a lot of fun actually. So it's gonna be cool. So, Matambali, nice to have you here from Colorado. Imad Habas, nice to have you here from Algeria. Bonjour, bonsoir. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. WA5107 SWL in Louisiana. Imad Abbas says he's found a Chinese analog radio that had 8 shortwave bands. How do I differentiate between international broadcast bands and other bands? Well, it depends. If it's not because usually when they have many bands like that, the 8 shortwave bands that you have are 8 international broadcast bands. And so if you actually Google international broadcast bands, you will see the frequency ranges where they are located, and there's pretty sure you're gonna find that the 8 bands that you have are international broadcast bands actually. Usually when a receiver has more coverage, it usually will be divided into only 2 or 3 bands or just one, and which is shortwave, and will have all the frequency coverage. But usually when you have 7, 8, 9 bands, they are all international broadcast bands. Terry Cook, nice to have you on board from Western Montana, KF7BQ. Thank God it's Shortwave Listening Friday. I like that. It's Shortwave Listening Friday. This is a nice one. Bobby Burgess, when am I going to have a VHF UHF show? I have no idea. WOHP 1390, nice to have you here. W8PRR, nice to have you here. Rick from Ohio. JD Williamson, nice to have you on board. First Michael, last Doylan, nice to have you here. From Massachusetts. Jerry DX, nice to have you on board. Setting up for the BBC Antarctic midwinter broadcast. Cool. And yes, we will talk about this field day It is this weekend. Sorry, guys. So, yes, it's this weekend. So, field day. Rufus Newt, nice to have you on board from sunny, warm, and mosquito-infested Laurentian Valley. Yeah, where there's a lot of wood and... Mr. Paul, you're making me sneeze. Nick Amado from Romania, nice to have you here. Max Headstrong, nice to have you on board, my friend. Ray Kelly from Nova Scotia. Bonjour, PLF Radio, bienvenue de la France. Ray Erdink, nice to have you here from Leeds, UK. Mike DX, nice to have you here. Slave Priest, nice to have you here, says he found a channel last week. Cool. Hope you enjoy what's on it. Hope you enjoy. Kevin Wood, nice to have you on board from Nova Scotia also. Juan Amigo, nice to have you here from Barcelona, Spain. Always cool to have everybody here. Mr. Blackpool, nice to have you on board from the UK. Rock Ristorante, nice to have you on board. Risto SM0SVT from Stockholm. The whole of Sweden celebrates Midsummer Eve. Great weather and decent conditions on shortwave. Cool. Nothing better. And we are, yes, we are, in the solstice. The longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere is now. The shortest day of the year is in the southern hemisphere. That's why they have the midwinter broadcast. So now it's summer is getting in full swing, and it's actually nice here. We had a few nice days, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. Ethan Best, hello, hola, bonjour, guten tag. Nice to have you here. Niao. NL13851, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Yes, the BBC World Service Antarctica broadcast, mid-winter broadcast, is at 21:30. 5875 and 9455 are from Wolverton, UK. 7360 from Ascension Islands, and it's directed towards Antarctica. 9455 was pretty much the best all around for a chance to listen to it here, at least. Joshua Gosnell, nice to have you here, my friend, W4GOG. And yes, field day this weekend. We're going to talk all about that in a few minutes. McGlone, nice to have you here. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. PLF Radio likes my videos in Perry Island. Yeah, and I would have done more, but I got interrupted, and I'll explain that also. Al Catalan, nice to have you here, my friend. Apple TV from England, nice to have you here. Page Master, nice to have you on board from Moore, Oklahoma. KI5CWF or WA5136SWL. Wayne Baker, nice to have you here, my friend. Brent, nice to have you on board from Ontario. Wilbur Fossier, nice to have you on board from southern New Jersey. Happy Solstice, absolutely. Slave Priest is from Wisconsin, pretty cool. Bobby says it's freaking hot, 88 Fahrenheit, with a heat index of 102. Oh man, that's too hot for me. Here it's about, I would say it's mid-70s, maybe a little more. We're supposed to get into the 80s through the weekend. It's a 3-day weekend here in Quebec, not in Canada. But in Quebec, we have our Saint Jean-Baptiste, which is the national holiday of the province of Quebec. And that is this weekend. So here in Quebec, 3-day weekend. Canada Day is the other week, July 1st. So that also is celebrated. So that means we have 2 3-day weekends in a row here for those that work normal jobs, not like me. So Imad Abbas is from Algeria. Nice to have you here. Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Pretty cool. 91 Fahrenheit, sunny over there. It's summer. Joshua's been sick for 5 days. Oh man, take care, my friend. You know what? I don't know if you guys have found that, but when you get the flu in summer, for some reason it always seems worse than in the winter. Even though it's bad in the winter, I don't know why. Every time I got a flu or I got sick at the summertime, it always feels worse. Wayne Baker is from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Nice to have you here. Cool to know that you're feeling better, Joshua. Miki Dalmach, nice to have you here. And says, hello in Korean. In honor of the Voice of Korea QSL, Brian Penny just received. Really? Oh, wow. Look at you. I want one. I need to write and I need to listen in. Helton Byington, nice to have you here. K3JWA in Baltimore. Joe Rodman, nice to have you here. Gina Bova, nice to have you on board from Kanawaki, Quebec. Nice to have you here. And what else we have? Going down slowly, but we're not that far in the chat room right now, so it's not too bad. And yes, Max Estrong, you're right. The chat room is a radio confessional. We share our radio obsession. Rob Fiducia, nice to have you here, my friend Rob. Livy Nathan, nice to have you on board from Israel. Shalom, nice to have you here. What else we have? Joshua has been having a blast on 12, 10, and 6 meter. He's been kicking butt. Yeah, this morning was amazing. This morning was amazing. Gary Stewart, nice to have you, Gary, from the UK. Laurie Cabbage, nice to have you here. Laurie from Pensacola, Florida. Nice to have you here. Current Sid guy, nice to have, or Current's IT guy, I would guess. I say Current Sid guy, but now I'm looking at it, it's like, it's probably Current's IT guy. From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Nice to have you here. Brent says the Xing has been great in the last few nights. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. René Charbonnier, nice to have you here. Always cool to have you here from, I believe, the Netherlands. You bought a Midland CT590S. Do you have any experience with this radio? No. What can you explain a little bit more about what it is all about? Max Armstrong says it's a clear, sunny day in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Cool. Joshua, am I liking my new loop? Seen your video, and it looks awesome. I actually like it, honestly. I do find it's expensive. That I won't, budge from that. It is expensive. But I do like it, actually, because it's a compact antenna that performs very, very well. And receives as well as my sloper in signal strength. But has a little bit less noise, even though it's not that much less noise. But it does a nice job. It's nice. And I'll give a little bit more details a little later on what I think about it. I've got a few things that we'll talk about for sure. Paul Smith, nice to have you on board, my friend. And thanks for the short vids this week. Kept me busy at work. Cool. Nice to have you here from England, Paul. Pretty cool. Current's IT guy says, well, funny, took the plunge and got the Texan PL 880 and he loves it. It is a pretty good radio from what I've seen. Dartsman 501, nice to have you on board from Alamogordo, New Mexico. Randy in Riverside, California, KN6BZJ. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Which Texan PL series to get? The 880, if you got it, you can afford it, is good. The 660 is pretty good. 680 is pretty good. 660 is really good. You'll pretty much enjoy those. They have single sideband. If you don't want to spend too much money, PL 380, 310 ET, less expensive, no single sideband, but pretty good also. Matt, nice to have you here. MDK2W0MDK or WA0080SWL from a cloudy and cool, rainy Denver. So interesting. It was cool and rainy yesterday here. Andy Coley, nice to have you here. 2E0REE. Gina Bubba, my daughter, and I love your show. Thank you very much, Gina. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Current IT guy says he's really impressed. He got the Deluxe set with recorder and real antenna. It's a nice package. Cool. Look at Cabbages. There's still a WWV Fort Collins, Colorado. Absolutely. They are still on the air on all the frequencies of 2.5, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 megahertz. 24 hours a day. Absolutely. Current IT guy says, yes, I'm an IT guy by profession. Cool. I don't know why. I kind of only noticed today that it must be Current's IT guy. Mike Kane, nice to have you here, Mike, from Bedford, New Hampshire, WA1PJG. Pretty cool. What else do we have? What else do we have? Matt says W6LVP loop is well worth the money, especially considering other loops are twice as much but don't give significantly better performance. And you know, you got to put it in perspective that if I'd live in the United States, honestly, with shipping included, that loop would have cost me $350. But because of the exchange of money, plus the taxes I had to pay here, it comes over well at something like $525 Canadian. So maybe I would whine less about the price if I would be living in the US. It is expensive, but it does work well. You got to give it that, honestly. Donald Hosmer, nice to have you here. Yes, WWV, yep, celebrating 100 years, 100 year this year. Then actually, I've seen a post that I need to share on a YouTube video, and they will have all sorts of. There's going to be some amateur radio things happening with WWV and so on. Rodolfo65, nice to have you here, my friend. Terry Colgan, nice to have you on board. Missing my nap as I always do on Fridays to watch the show. Cool. SparkyZilla85, nice to have you on board. SparkyZilla, nice to have you here. Been a long time. Made 2 contacts this afternoon on 17 meters. Bands are definitely open. KD9LVR, nice to have you here, my friend. Nice to have you here. Bill Faggot, nice to have you here, my friend. Just got an XH Data D808 after seeing your review. Great little receiver. Your recommendation was spot on. Many thanks from Bill, G7IUI. It is an amazing little radio. I mean, it's somewhere here, I believe. Yeah, it's right there in the back. As you guys have probably seen, my transformation into the digital side of things is actually happening. So digital portable receivers here and here. Well, this is hard to. And I've got the Yaesu FT450 right here. It's right now on my sloper in my backyard, and of course the SDR here is the RSP1A, and this one is on my W6LVP loop that is on my front balcony right now. So the transitions towards digital, all digital on this side is happening. Of course, the icon is right here. You don't see it very well, but I'll try to position it. I'll try to kind of move it here so that it's easier to see in the next show. So the transition towards digital is happening on this side. That also means the transition towards analog is happening on the other side. But right now it looks like a mess. But hopefully next show I'll be on the other side with analog stuff. Oh man. Nick Mayakovsky, nice to have you on board, my friend. David Martin, nice to have you on board. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Reddy Charbonnier says, yes, again from the Netherlands. The Midland CT590S is a UHF VHF radio. I also started training as a radio amateur. Cool. Cool. I'll be looking at that CT590S. Examine what that is. Dave, West Virginia Redneck, nice to have you here. Brian Penny received a QSL from Voice of Korea today with letter and publications, all in a plain brown wrapper. Took 101 days. Not bad. I want one. What else do we have? Current IT guy says I've been doing IT for a long time. One of my first projects was rolling out the then new Windows 95 upgrade across a corporate network. Well, I'm getting old. Yeah, well, you know, I was a tech guy. I had my own little company, and I still remember that what was the when you needed to reinstall Windows when I started was simply reinstalling Windows 98. So, you know, I understand you. When I think about that, it's like, wow, I installed and actually fixed computers with Windows 98. It's like, wow, the things have sure have changed since then, for sure. And by the way, my beer, because I do have a beer, and yeah, I do have some orange slices here because the beer is actually a white beer, and I thought that I'd be a little different this week. So the beer this week is Belgian Moon. It's a white beer, and I thought that I would have this week rather than my usual package of Unibro. I saw the case of beer and I thought, oh, you know what? Why not? It's going to be different, and so it is different actually. Recray, nice to have you here from Turkey. Pretty cool. PageMaster says I was trained on how to tune a marker beacon at work yesterday and then test the antenna with a single generator that produced 400 Hertz, 1300 Hertz, and 3500 Hertz. Interesting. Joseph Ivankovich, nice to have you here, KE8IDN. Finally, a good day in Battle Creek, Michigan. Cool. The Shortwave, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Just started in the ham world and loving it and heard from your show, so I had to watch. NL1BOZ 73s, nice to have you here and hope that you enjoy. And welcome, and it's cool to see that you have started in the ham world. Dave is KC3HID here, so he's doing CQ on 40 apparently. So thanks SparkyZilla for the nice comment on the setup. Ethan Best, 9330 WBCQ Superstation with Radio New York International right now. They've been doing pretty much their 500 kilowatts. Let's see if I can hear it. Very, very weak here. You know, the problem of 9330 and of WBCQ in general for me is that WBCQ is actually very close to where I live, and I'm actually wondering where I put my phone. So anyways, it's very close to where I live. So basically I have a lot of difficulty listening to WBCQ on pretty much all of their frequencies. Just a minute, guys. I will try to find my phone because it's kind of an essential for me to actually check a few things. And here we go. So, here we go. My phone is here. So sometimes you guys send me things or I need to watch something or check something. It's kind of nice to have the phone with me. Thanks for the minute. Oh man, okay. So, yes. What else do we have? Jeff King, nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool. Mad Radio DXer, nice to have you on board. Says, I take it you have the window, Joe. I can hear the traffic really well and the birds singing. Yes, window is actually open, absolutely. But it won't last long because I will be probably putting up the air conditioning in the next few days. So the window will be permanently closed when that happens. So you won't hear that anymore. But yes, the window is definitely open, and the microphone is quite sensitive also. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let's go down. And Antonios Carlos, what site do you use to find shortwave frequency activity? Thank you, from Northern Michigan. EIBI Space is my favorite because I like lists, but there's quite a few others. So EIBI Space.de is one of the places I go to. You can check by frequency, or you can check by time, and you have all the active transmissions into what in all the languages in every target area. But there's depending on what you like, because I like that because I don't know, I kind of like lists, but depending on how you want to find what is active or not, there are other websites where you can actually punch in a frequency like short-wave.info, or there's a few others. I know you guys, depending on what you want, what you like, some of you will like other types of websites, but there's quite a few of them where you get all the frequency information for what's active on the shortwave frequencies in international broadcasts and all of that. So that's kind of cool. Just going to see here. Okay, what else do we have? What else do we have? Happy anniversary, Matt. Dijon, nice to have you here from Bavaria, Germany. Pretty cool. Mark Schmidt, nice to have you on board from Maine. Why are the transmit loops made from machined aluminum tubing? I don't know. One of the things for sure is that it makes them very, very lightweight. Aluminum is so lightweight compared to many other things. So maybe that's one of the... That's why it's made of aluminum tubing. You know, one of the things also, Matt Sexstrong, is you got to think about the power that's going into it. One of the things for sure is that the more power you pump into an antenna, the more it has to handle the heat that might be generated from it. So depending on the power, probably I wouldn't be surprised if the power, somehow the power has something to do with it. Rufus News says 9330 super strong. Rodolfo says 9330 in New York City is S9 plus. Cool. The E1DJK, nice to have you on board, my friend. Simon Templar, nice to have you here, my friend. David Martin says, Tangel made a simple 2-meter hanging dipole antenna from TV coax. Last, no soldering required, and an F-type to PL259 adapter. So, in his standing wave of 1.1 at 146 megahertz. Cool. Nothing like building, you know, there's some fun in building your own antennas and your own equipment. It's always a lot of fun to do that, honestly. Butterbean, nice to have you here. Got the Alicrafters S1290 going on now. And these older receivers have a lot of rich, nice sound, actually. I've been having a lot of fun. If you guys have seen one of the videos I posted, I was using one of the American 5 tube AM tube receivers I got here. And I was actually using the Texan AN200 loop antenna. And it really did improve the reception on medium wave band. But it's funny because it has a weird effect. There probably is some kind of weird interaction between, there's a difference in interaction at least between the tube receivers and transistor receivers, because I noticed that if I want to amplify, say I want to amplify 580 kilohertz, the setting on the AN200 for tuning it to 580 is different when it's close to a tube radio than it is when I put it next to a transistor radio. So I would think that maybe the magnetic field of the tubes and all of the radio itself is kind of changing the properties of the antenna itself. So it needs to tune, but it tunes in a different place. It's kind of very, very weird. But was fun to actually play with that. Yeah, I saw your post, Matt. You're pretty well in 31 meters around 1800 UT in Colorado, which was a rare opening. Voice of Greece 9420 and 9460 both were solid here, and Voice of Turkey. And but you know what? On when I went to Perry Island, one of the first things I noticed is that, for example, I could hear Spain really well on 9690 at 18 UT, which is something that's almost impossible here because of the noise. It's very, very interesting. Pretty interesting, actually. What else do we have? Let's go down. Antonius is N4RNI. Cool. PLF Radio shared another one, shortwave.am. Brent, short-wave.info. These are all different websites where you can get all the schedules basically that you want. So, you know, it's a great place to be. Dejan says, I did some unintentional FMDX. I actually just wanted to listen to some local FM station, and all of a sudden I heard dozens of Spanish FM stations because of Sporadic E. Cool. There's been a lot of FM Sporadic E signals reported in different groups that I see, especially across Europe. So pretty cool, pretty cool. When Sporadic E-skip is really strong, it's just amazing what you can get. Bossy Guy Mike, nice to have you here, my friend. And great to see your live stream again. Shout out to SparkyZilla, who I saw up chat. Keep up the great work with your videos. Absolutely, SparkyZilla has some nice radio videos if you guys have not checked that out. So, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I saw the post, David Martin. The ARRL has recently reported transatlantic 2-meter QSO on FT8. You know, FT8 is such an amazing mode for low noise that it actually is great when you think about you know, how you can for that type of transmission. Actually, I mean, come on, FT8, you listen to that, and with our ears we hear nothing, and something pops up, and you're like, really? The computer decoded something. It received a signal, actually, and it's just amazing. Really amazing. Should I be the Autocrafters S120? C. Johnson, nice to have you on board, my friend. Free Saxon, nice to have you here. Mr. G, nice to have you on board. Jerry, 4 receivers, I'm not sure. Are you sure you got enough 4 receivers? Come on. FB Lassie, nice to have you on board, my friend. Brent says Radio New Zealand has been coming in strong in the evening on 13840. Yeah, it's that time of year, you know. It's I always call, especially when they were on, well, even 13840 is the same, but I remember when they were on 15720. I would call Radio New Zealand my summertime radio station because the summer evenings would bring me Radio New Zealand, which was pretty cool, and I would listen to that, and it was a lot of fun. So 13840 is pretty much pretty good too. I've been listening to it a couple of evenings, and actually strong enough to even receive just with receive with my with a portable receiver, which is kind of cool. So yeah, Nick Mayakovsky, that's what I think too, because I noticed that the AM200 loop actually works well on transistor radios, but when I was tuning on the higher part of the medium wave band, I noticed that it didn't seem to work very well, or I was tuning in the upper part. Maybe I don't know, around 1500 kilohertz on the medium wave band, and I couldn't find that spot where I could actually enhance the signal. So it probably ain't designed to function with tube radios, because it doesn't perform well with them. And I think there's a lot of, a tube radio is very different. And the other thing is, the American 5 receivers that I have here, when you look at how the antenna is built, it's not a ferrite or anything. It's just a big, cardboard thing with like some maybe 30, 40 turns of wires around it, and that's pretty much it. And they use that as an antenna. And most American 5s don't really perform very well on medium wave, except for local stations. But once I put that loop next to them, they would become amazing receivers, and I could get US stations really well. For example, WCBS New York, which is on 880 kilohertz, is an easy one on a transistor radio here in Montreal at night. But when you would actually use one of these American 5s, it was there but barely audible in the background noise. But when you put the loop next to it and tune it, it becomes as good as a regular transistor radio. But definitely there's an interaction that makes the AM200 behave very differently on the tube radios than on transistor radios. And that's kind of nice, kind of interesting. I didn't think about that at first, but there's also some, it's kind of logical that the behavior is different, for sure. Degen says, I was in Greece last week and tuned his Texan PL660 there, but unfortunately I couldn't receive much, although I had a long wire antenna. Current IT guy, has anyone seen about the Eton Elite satellite being brought back? Yeah, that E1, which is pretty much the same. It looks like the same one, actually. So I don't know. We'll see. It's stated to be around $350, something like $350. D1DJK an hour ago in his garden was listening on the R9012 to the BBC Voice of America programs. Condition seems to be quite okay on 41 to 49. So pretty good. Pretty good. Eddie Essex, nice to have you on board. Says busy day. Comet DS150S discount up at 40 feet in the air now. Time for a beer. VA3 BUF. So cheers, everybody. Degen listened to Radio Charleston International on 5140 kilohertz. Been a pretty regular pirate in Europe, that Radio Charleston on 5140, it seems. Matt says, with the receive active loops, there's something about the amplification that makes them work across a wide range of frequency. I have passive loops that need tuning, and they have a very narrow range. Jerry says, megastorm touching Indiana right now. Hope it doesn't mess with my reception. Yeah, your 4 radios will be useless. My DX, the other radio worth looking out for is the new AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. That could be interesting to look at. So, yeah, I will be setting up at 9455. Actually, what I'll do is I'll set the Yaesu FT450 to 9455. Let me just check if anything comes in right now. So we got Greece on 9420. Interesting. Let's check 9420 here. It's not very strong, actually. Greece is there, but it's not very strong on 9420. So let's So the Yisu FT450 will be on 94.55. We'll be checking that out if it actually checking that out. So the BBC. So we're going to talk about that as we have a little time, and I am pretty much at the bottom of the list right now. So let's start with first things first. In less than an hour from now, at 21:30 UTC, there's going to be what is the BBC midwinter broadcast to Antarctica. And that will be coming up in less than an hour. It's a broadcast that happens once a year for the British troops down in Antarctica base. 3 frequencies will be used, and of course they are directed towards Antarctica. One is from Ascension Islands in the South Atlantic Ocean, and that's 7360. 2 are from Wolverton, UK. That will be 58. God, I lost it. 58 what? 5875 and 9455 kilohertz are the 2 frequencies from Wolverton, UK. So last week we heard the test. There was a 15-minute test. One of the best frequencies that seemed to make it to North America somewhat was 9455. But if you can't hear it, you can also listen to it through some SDRs, maybe in South America, or I was thinking of maybe the one in there's an SDR in South Africa. Maybe that one could also be an interesting one to look at. But I know that Sheldon last week was listening to a couple of SDRs in Chile and Brazil. I think he was listening to a couple, and signal seemed to be pretty good over there. So you can try that if you don't hear it at home. So that is a once a year broadcast. It's a 30-minute broadcast for the troops in Antarctica. It has music and messages from family and friends. It's 30 minutes, so it's at 21:30 UTC. Once again, 21:30 UT. Frequencies will be 5875, 7360, and 9455 for the broadcast. Okay, what else do we have? Let's say hello. Hello there, Radio Week Signal Work. Nice to have you here. Always nice to have on board, Pat. K7LNP. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Dave, West Virginia Redneck, will be on the amateur HF bands this weekend. Listen for W3CU. Are you participating in the field day this weekend? Elton Byington says Universal in Ohio is taking pre-orders for the new Ethon at price $349.99. They've dropped XM satellite reception, added FM only HD radio. So, interesting. Andrew DXer says sanitary joystick when you leaned over. Yeah, I got actually several of them in the back of the chair here. Imad Abbas says, I am on AM using a small radio with an antenna. I cannot pick up any station. What should I do to increase signal? Well, if it's on the shortwave bands, you'll need to put, you don't need a lot. You can actually clip a little piece of wire. If you have, just a certain length of wire, maybe you can actually clip the wire to the telescopic antenna of the radio itself. The one DJK says next week is every evening field day lull. They say it becomes up to 40 Celsius here in Germany. Oh man, that's going to be pretty crazy. Lots of cold beer, radio, and hopefully beach or or swimming pool. um, so this weekend is field day, which is another nice thing also happening. It's one of those moments in amateur radio that I kind of like. It's, of course, I've seen a post today in the one of the Facebook groups, and the guy was complaining that it's become contesting and nothing else, and it's boring because it's just a big contest now and so on. And yeah, I get it that maybe you're not super happy that it happened like that, but it's part. We got to say it's part contest, part showing the prowess of amateur radio. Field day is kind of cool because it is a way to set up, and it's showing something that a lot of people don't know about amateur radio, and it's the capabilities of amateur radio operators of operating in different conditions where you might need to basically be in an emergency situation, for example, and set up a temporary post where you will be showing your capabilities of issuing or transmitting in emergency situations. I always talk about here we learned amateur radio was important when we had the big ice storm of 1998. Amateur radio saved the ass of many law enforcement authorities because they were able to continue transmitting vital information in times of emergency. And so, it is kind of become somewhat of a contest in a way, but also because of the way that you operate and the requirements of trying to be kind of set up in a way that is showing your the knowledge that you've learned as an amateur radio operator. So it's kind of fun. I kind of like field day in some ways. Look for radio clubs around where you guys live, because a lot of them often have very special they set up in special places. Like here in Montreal, there are two places where they're going to set up. There's I think it's the West Island Amateur Radio Club that is going to set up in the west part of the Montreal Island, and I know that UMS, which is the French side of the radio group here in Montreal, sets up on the east part of the island also in a school, and so a lot of clubs actually set up and will show everybody what it looks like and how amateur radio operator what's amateur radio basically, and it's kind of fun. I remember maybe 10 years ago they had set up here in a park not very far from where I live actually, and I was able to go there and meet people that I would hear on the 2-meter band all the time. So it starts at 1800 hours UTC tomorrow, June the 22nd. So 18 hours UTC tomorrow, June 22nd. Goes all the way to Sunday at 20:59 UTC, Sunday, June the 23rd. And it's a great way to learn more about amateur radio and listen to these guys having contacts. And it's always fun because when there's these special events, you often hear stations that are special event stations for some reason, or stations that will pop out of a specific maybe a DX area where you never heard a station before. So check it out. It's on all amateur bands except I believe the work bands are not included in there as usual. So all the HF, major HF bands, and not just HF, the VHF, UHF bands, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and so on. So check it out, and I think it's gonna be really, really, really nice to check that out for sure. I tend to listen to and tune around a lot. It's not the best. Maybe midday is not the best. At night it's gonna be better because we are in summer solstice, and by the way, I'm gonna talk about propagation a little bit here because of what's happening. and kind of there are. I had a few questions of people saying, well, I got crappy reception in the daytime, and I'm wondering why. And so I thought that kind of a little refresh of propagation in the different seasons is going to be interesting also. So field day tomorrow starts 18 UTC, goes out to Sunday at 20:59 UTC. Hope that you listen in to the HF and the amateur bands. Current IT guy says, oops, I'm jealous after having just ordered this 880. If I ordered another, my wife will string me up. Oh man, yeah. Yeah, that's another possibility. Like Max Estrong says, if you don't have EMAD, if you don't have good reception, you could try to go outside with your radio also. That will help a lot. Legion says, always wonder where Radio Charleston is transmitting from because they always have such a great signal from them. PLF Radio, does BBC EQSL? I believe the BBC doesn't. I'm not sure. The BBC itself, I'm not sure they still QSL. I'm not sure they still QSL. But I have seen somebody that seems to have received a QSL from the Ascension Island transmitter site. So I'm not sure exactly, honestly. Legion says, as far as I know, BBC doesn't send out QSL at all, neither real or eQSL cards. I think they dropped the QSL cards a little while back, honestly. So, Free Saxon says, today is longest day. The sun is setting here in North Wales, Britain. Here the sun sets today around 9 p.m. in local time. 9 p.m. That's 0100 UT. Like Donald Hosmer says, BBC relay stations QSL in the past when running them direct. I did that from with Ascension and Oman, and I believed I've seen somewhere recently that Ascension Island does still QSL, but you need to send a self-addressed stamped envelope to make sure that it can answer back, because they don't have the budget for it. But I believe I've seen somebody recently talking about how they received a QSL from Ascension Islands recently. Paul McDonald, nice to have you on board. VA7ZZT from British Columbia, nice to have you here. Would a 36-inch passive 10 to 30 megahertz loop antenna be more sensitive in its range than a 36-inch active wideband loop? I would tend to think that the active loop would be more sensitive because it boosts the signal a lot. Where the passive, I mean, if it's passive, apart from the fact that you got to tune it, it's like having just a 36-inch antenna. Where I would think an active antenna, like the W6LVP, takes that 36 or that length of reception of signal and amplifies it, so it makes it stronger. I would guess. Kevin Wood, last message I can see in the chat is over 30 minutes old. Maybe you should refresh the page. No, there's no awards or anything, but it does sound like a contest, Matt. I kind of get the drift of the guy that was complaining. I know it's not a contest, and there's no awards or anything, but the guy was complaining that it's almost like it's a contest today, you know. Take care, René Charbonnier. It was nice to have you on board from the Netherlands as usual. But it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Joe Rotman, field day is meant to practice transmitted messages under primitive conditions. The ARRL makes its contest-like to enhance participation. Yeah, that's it, pretty much. Paul McDonald will be mobile on field day on 2 meters and UHF going up the highway as I go to Merritt Speedway and come back 8:30 p.m. Pacific. Cool. McGlone says here it'll be at 4 different places. Interesting. What else do we have? Al Mason, nice to have you on board. Yeah, we are at solar minimum. We're pretty much at solar minimum, and I've seen the solar flux was so low this week at 66. It's just crazy, crazy. Matt says, I'm keeping an ear on the local repeaters. I'm still not set up for HF. I need a couple of mounts for a dipole to get on the air. Jerry DX, what frequency I think will be the best? I'm betting on 9455. I would think that 9455 will probably be the best chances here in North America. I had a peep of a signal on 7360, even though it was from Ascension Islands. But I think 9455 probably will be the best bet, honestly. Paul McDonald, take your radios camping. Have some reception sometimes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Robert Babcock, nice to have you on board. W0RAB in Connecticut. Thanks for the nice comment. Matt says, darn it, lighting is approaching. Take care, Dijan. It's nice to have you on board, my friend. Nicky Delmash says, yes, BBC Ascension has a nice QSL letter. It does take a while. I did EQSL last year midwinter via Wooferton from a retired engineer, but that was special. So, okay, they do have a nice QSL letter from Ascension. You got to be patient. So they still do. Kind of cool. You know, you got to face one thing, is that they don't have to QSL, and the QSL letter and the QSLing from Ascension probably comes from somebody that just, you know, some old guy that works there and just thinks that it's just cool to still, you know, given a kind of answer back to QSL requests and stuff. But so Mickey has confirmed, and he's the best guy to know about that because he does the very interesting QSL column in the Messenger. So if anybody should know, Mickey should. JDX says you should be getting great reception with your new loop. We'll find out in 37 minutes and counting. Yeah, but it's still very noisy. The loop is still very, very noisy, honestly. Even though it's less noisy. But signal per signal, if I compare the loop and the sloper, signal-wise, they get the same, pretty much the same signal level. So my sloper and my W6LVP loop perform as well on the reception of the signal. There's slightly less noise on the W6LVP loop. Now it's not in its official position yet. I want to try one other spot, which is not kind of a little bit above the roof, not far from my VHF vertical. So just to see if it makes the noise a little less of a problem. But I am enjoying it. It's a nice antenna, and honestly, it is expensive. But I would say that the first thing, anybody that doesn't have any space, you know, just a balcony, or really you can't set up a long wire outdoors or anything, that is a great antenna. It is a great antenna. It's quite portable. So anybody that would do de-expeditions, for example, or that just wants to set up temporarily somewhere, for shortwave listening. I mean, that thing with a tripod is probably a great portable antenna. And because it's powered by 12 volts DC, it's easy to power it on battery packs. So, I powered it. I actually powered it with this to make sure that the power supply didn't do any interference. Still have the connector on it. I powered it with this 12 volt lead acid battery just to see how it would perform. And actually, this lead acid battery probably would power the loop for days, because it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of power, honestly. So it's kind of interesting to see that it's a very portable. It's a great antenna for a portable operations, that's for sure. So you don't want to bring hundreds of feet of wire. You're going to some location, low noise location. I think it's going to make it. It makes a great antenna for portable and de-expedition purposes. It does lower somewhat the noise. The problem is, and that's the thing, because one of the advantages of a loop is that you can null the noise. But the problem is here noise is all around. So I have played with it and changed its positioning. There is a slight change in the S meter in the background noise, but it's very small. But yet it still receives, as a little bit less noise than my sloper does. So I get an improvement. I'm happy to have the antenna, honestly. I would have enjoyed having less noise than I do have, but I'm happy to have the antenna. It works great, and I think that for what it's supposed to be, it's a great antenna. It does what it does very well. It's just not a magic antenna. So here's where it gets a little complicated. If you're purchasing that antenna to lower the noise on the HF bands, that's where it might be difficult to do so. An example of that I've seen was at the CIDX barbecue. One of the guys that's sometimes in the chat room, Eric Cottrell, had brought with him a loop, which I believe, I don't know if it was a Walbrook, but one of the loops, I think it was a Walbrook, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been the W6LVP also. He had set it up at Sheldon's location for radio listening. And I had listened just a little bit to the radio to see how it goes. And I mean, it was performing very well, but it was still very noisy. So that's the thing. It's not going to be a miracle antenna to remove noise, especially when the noise is all around you. Still, it's a great antenna, and it does what it does very, very well, honestly. So, I'm actually happy to have it, and it will be, I'll have two antennas. I'll have the sloper and I'll have the loop. They'll both be there up, and I kind of find it nice because I'll be able to operate two radios off of two different antennas, and sometimes compare. There is one place that I found it really amazing, and that place is 160 meters. I have never in my life received 160 meter band ham radio operators so well. I mean, the ham radio operators I've got on 160 meters, which are always the same gang from the northeastern states, are much stronger. And it has to do with the fact that on that range, around 1.8 megahertz, 2 megahertz, it does seem to have much lower noise, and it does really have much higher signals. So I mean, 160 meter is crazy good. 2.749 and 2.598, two frequencies where there's some local weather broadcast, maritime weather broadcast here in the province of Quebec and the east part of Canada, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and so on. It received those better also. 80 meters seems to be quite good also. Where it, well, I can't totally pronounce myself, but where it might be less interesting when I compare it to my sloper. My sloper seems to get more signal. I'd say above 25 megahertz. So for like the Sportic eSkip, but I'm not gonna say definitely yes. I'm going to test it a little more because I need to test it a little more. But that's some of the observations I've got right now. I'm hoping that maybe testing it next to my VHF antenna, because it's going to be higher and a little bit further away from the house, might actually improve in lowering my noise level. But right now, its official position where it's probably going to be staying is my front balcony. But it's not there definitely. I need to test it in a few places for sure, and that's what I'm going to do in the next few weeks. I'm still waiting because they're still doing some work on the house, so I'm waiting for that to finally finally stop, so that I can actually enjoy my my hobby a little more and have possibly to put up the antenna. I just put up the sloper back up because I could put it in a way that it would not interfere with the work on the house. About 2 hours ago, I wanted to have the sloper working for tonight also. So right now the sloper is on the SDR and the sloper is on the Yaesu FT450 in the back here. The W6 LVP loop is on the SDR here, the RSP1A. Oh man. The Ethan Best says, okay, let's just go back up here. Says, Miguel Domash says BBC Singapore has a nice card, and BBC Madagascar also has a nice QSL from the group that operates the station. Oh, cool. I need to check that out. I have written so many times for QSLs, and I've never received a QSL from a relay station. I need to check that out. I have received QSLs mentioning that there was a relay station, like Radio Japan, for example. I got one QSL from Radio Japan that has a sticker on it mentioning the Gabon relay, which used to be on Shortwave. But I don't have enough, any QSLs from relay station of any kind. Eton Best, 33 days without spots. Yep, that sounds like solar minimum, pretty much. Leon DJK says, BBC. It looks like BBC only QSL when you write to the relay stations directly. London won't answer reports anymore. Yeah, I got QSL cards from the BBC. I got QSLs from the BBC from the 80s, basically. So Random Valley reminds me of the song 30 Days in the Hole. Gerald Nicholson, nice to have you here. Any idea on how to get JVCom 32 working, as mine has IOC 662 LPM 120? No satellite weather receiving. Anybody can help with that? Any hams going to some deserted island in the middle of the Pacific for field day? We'll have to check. I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff happening for sure. For sure. Mad Radio DX. In other words, The guy in Ascension Islands is bored most of the time and sends QSL because it is something to do. I wouldn't be surprised actually that it's something like that. Coquicula Highway. Oh man. In the mountains, the show Highway Through Hell is that highway. Oh, okay. I have rotated my loop, Jerry, but it does not improve reception really on the signals. It might lower noise in certain points, but I've tried a lot, and I did rotate the loop on many signals, which did not really do any difference. I know that on shortwave signals, there's not a lot. The way the signals are scattered from the ionosphere. The loop antennas, and I've read many articles that say, if you can just, if the only thing you can do is leave the loop antenna in one position and can't rotate it, it doesn't matter that much. It's really for the noise level that it matters much more than the signals itself. Because on shortwave, the scattering of the signals makes the reception pretty much good any position that it's at. It's not like a local, on medium wave it would make a difference. If I wanted to tune a medium wave station from like the 580 kilohertz CFRA, that will make a huge difference to rotate it, absolutely. But on shortwave, it doesn't have as much of an effect. And what I see here is that it will mostly be positioning it with the lowest noise possible and leaving it like that than anything else. But I will always, when I set it up, wherever it will be easy to rotate, at least manually, if I want to try it. And, the idea of getting a rotor is not out of the question. I'll be testing that out for sure, and we'll see. We'll see. Is that a UPS battery? It is. It's a set of batteries that fast load that you guys have seen in the chat room has gotten from an old UPS. He took a few that there was like kind of a lot. He tested them to make sure that to keep the good ones, and he asked me if I wanted a couple, so I've got two of them here. Which is nice because if there's a power outage or anything, at least it's gonna have something. Man, D1DJK says it's probably only one person who works at the transmitter in Ascension. In Austria, relay, only one person who controls. Yeah, I mean they're the minimum. That's the minimum. You got one engineer and that's it. No, I did not try the loop on Perry Island because it was kind of difficult for me to bring it up there. But I will eventually bring it with me to some de-expedition for sure. Using any filters on my loop, I've got a low pass and an high pass filter, Jerry, because it was recommended. It was recommended because I have too many strong AM and FM signals here. So it cuts out the AM medium wave, so I can't really DX with it on medium wave. And it cuts out anything above, I think it's above 45 megahertz. Joe, it's somebody new house. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Yep, BBC is at 21:30 and a little more than 15 minutes from now. Yeah, we've been flirting with 150. The highest I've seen it in the past hour was 152 viewers, so it's kind of nice. We're flirting with a higher than usual number. It'd be fun if we could reach like 100. I believe the record is 161. So if we could beat that, we're not that far off from 161. We need just a couple of, maybe if we'd add a couple of, sexy girls in the environment, that would help a lot. But unfortunately, none are available around me. Keegan is using his Eton Grenic Edition Field BT radio. internal antenna. Roof is new, 22 Celsius inside and out. Cool. Yeah, Imad Abbas, Radio Canada International left shortwave quite a long time ago now, quite a few years ago. So there's no more broadcasting to Africa. Shitty Pyro 90, nice to have you on board. Chester Johnson, nice to have you here. So I'm using my X-beam at about 50 in the air on my 80 meter dipole, or 40 feet in the air. So far I'm not overly satisfied with reception. Radio sounds like bacon frying most of the time. You know, that is such an amazing problem that we will all face, and we're all facing. And it's the noise level around us is just crazy. And we got to live with it. Unfortunately, our hobby. You know, I would like to know how many ham radio operators or shortwave listeners simply left their hobby because of the noise level that made it impossible to hear anything. Because you gotta remember one thing. There's kind of two kind of guys, okay? There's us that will listen to a signal, even if it's noisy. If we can understand, we'll still tune it. And we'll still listen to it. But there was a certain category of shortwave listeners that were listening in for the programming that couldn't really stand the noise or the distortion. That when the noise level started going up, when stations started to disappear, meaning they were weaker because sometimes you'd still hear them, but with relays somewhere else in the world, well, some got tired of listening. Amateur radio operators, I'm sure that when some of the amateur radio operators out there started getting higher noise levels, a lot of them decided that, you know what, I'm not having fun anymore, and stop their hobby, basically. David Martin says, yes, the video with 160 meter signals was impressive, very clear and strong. Wondering what happened with the hummingbirds the one guy was talking about. You know what? It was just so funny because I was going through the different signals at 160 meters. And there was that guy talking about hummingbirds. I was going through the different. And, it's just funny because I was listening to their chit-chat. And what came to mind to me is, oh man, if only someone would be having some kind of technical talk to me at the moment I'm making the videos, instead of, I got problem with hummingbirds or something. It's just like, okay. It's like 80 meters. I mean, I like listening to amateur radio operators chit-chat. I think it's fun to listen to chit-chat, but I don't want to hear what's happening in your daily life, or I don't want to hear what's happening with politics. I want to hear, you've set up that new radio with that type of antenna, and now you've been testing it and having these results and this. Now that's fun. That I want to listen to. When I hear a conversation about, when I hear about technical talk on amateur radio operators' frequencies, and because that's also important, and they know what they're talking about, I can listen to chit-chat on ham radio bands for hours because of that. Jerry DX, pretty amazing what you can receive being in a city. I think being on an island helps with your reception. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know what? And I got to be fair. I compare myself to some people that live in big cities like I do. that live in a condo. I live here. It's not a condo. It's a rent. I rent the apartment, and I hear their experience of how it's difficult or impossible to listen to because of noise, and they can't set up an outdoor antenna, and they can. Here I am pretty free of doing what I want. I mean, as long as it doesn't, the neighbors don't go nuts. My landlord is very relaxed here. He knows what I do stuff. He sees, when he comes and fixes stuff in the house, he sees I got wires everywhere, and he doesn't say a thing. He doesn't say a thing as long as it doesn't break the house in some way, and as long as neighbors aren't complaining of what I do. So it's at least that. And when I compare myself, because we got to compare ourselves with others. And I notice that if I compare myself, you know what? Yeah, it's noisy here, absolutely, but it's still surprising all of the stations I can actually receive. So it ain't that bad, anyways, even though it's far from being a great spot. But when I go to Perry Island and I hear the stations, I mean, I'm like, wow, okay. Crazy. Pagemaster will be attending Field Day tomorrow in Norman, Oklahoma. Cool. Ray Bennett, nice to have you on board, my friend. Let me just go back up here. I'm going to go here and go down slowly. So driving in my big rig on my way home and listening in. So nice to have you here. Mad Radio DXer powers his Wallbrook using a 12-volt battery like shown. Can last a month. Oh, I'm pretty sure. In a full charge, I mean the power adapter with the loop antenna is 200 milliamps. So it's very low powered. So you know what? A lead acid battery like I just shown, that thing is going to power it for weeks without recharging. Chester Johnson, with a 500-foot loop at 16 feet high, lessen the noise on the ICR 8600 I live in a country with not too much noise, but the static with thunderstorms. Static with thunderstorms will always be there, and you're not going to really fix static coming from thunderstorms. That's kind of part of the hobby and always will be part of the hobby. Honestly, if you live in a country with no noise around you, just, no need loops. Just put 200 feet of wires and you'll see that it just receives so well. No problem, Paul McDonald. Take care, my friend. SWL60N or 16 North. Nice to have you on board from Stockholm. Bob Bartola. Nice to have you on board. And he's receiving 20s music on 9455. So here I've got nothing. It's at 2130 to broadcast, so there's nothing right now. I don't know if there's a broadcast on 9455 from somewhere else, but PLF Radio, the Jerry DX is the longest wait ever for the BBC. So nice to have you here, my friend SWL Shortwave 60 North from Stockholm. PLF Radio, the SDR is on Voice of Greece right now, which is very weak, but it's there. But I will tune it. I will tune it to 9455 as the midwinter broadcast is in 7 minutes. And maybe, I don't know, we'll try, well, that was on 9455. Maybe I should try 7360. 7360. I hear something on 7360. So it's going to be interesting to see what we get. Yeah, I've current IT guy. I've seen this week. There's some kind of interaction with the inner planets. Absolutely, including even as far out as Jupiter. Kind of interesting. Blasty's received QSL from BBC Relay in Oman years ago. David in Barcelona, nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Matt says, if you keep your loop close by, you won't need a rotator. Honestly, I have one because mine's mounted up. And the way it's going to be mounted, it's going to be, I'll always keep it in a way that it will be easy for me to manually rotate if I really want to. Sid Vic, nice to have you on board, my friend. Zachary Antol, nice to have you here. Long time, yeah. Rufus new generators and batteries are here. Power out in winter is not nice. Absolutely. Absolutely. Patrick Manny, nice to have you on board, my friend. Yes, I need a beer made. Absolutely, Jerry. Fastlow, nice to have you here. Pretty cool. My parent flag will be up on the other side with the analog analog side of things. John Erickson, nice to have you on board. Says, is there a good loop antenna for field day? You mean for transmitting? Mario DXer says, I stopped shortwave listening years ago when I moved to a place that had high electric noise, but got back into it when I moved to S. Yeah. Matt says things seem to be clearing. Cool. Patrick Manny liked my videos on Perry Island. Cool. Donald Hosmer says, quit shortwave listening in '68 when my family moved into town next to a four-way flashing light by our house. All I heard were clicks. Later returned to the hobby in the '80s. Yeah, it's easy to get, kind of pissed off at that. So, what else do we have? What else do we have? What else do we have? Fast load, same here. I don't care about your prostate on the waves. Oh, man. Max, that's wrong. Ham radio is where shortwave listeners go to die. Oh, man. Ron Deming, nice to have you on board from the Oregon coast. Pretty cool. You can almost empty QSL on my phone. Let's check it out. So the BBC Midwinter broadcast is about to happen, guys. So we'll be checking it out. Oh yeah, look at that. That's pretty nice. So this is the Ascension Island BBC QSL. I don't know if you guys can see it a little bit, but it's kind of nice. Kind of cool. Thanks for sharing, my friend. Really nice. Really nice. So, whoops. I got a little email also. So, okay. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. So, let's check out the frequencies. 5875, 7360, and 9455 for the BBC Midwinter broadcast. Anything popping up in the next few seconds, I'll have 7360 up there, and we'll see if we hear anything. I got a signal on 7360. I got nothing on 9455 on the sloper. I'm going to try to see if we hear anything. Trying to see if I can hear something. What else do we have? That says some of the people on HF Underground were talking about arranging an SSDB QSO through their chat group. When I'm all set up, I'm going to see if any of them are still doing it. You know, that could be interesting. What could be interesting is set up an SSTV kind of group, and you guys send SSTV pictures. We try to decode them while the show's going on. Hey, we got a record, guys. 164 watching. That's the highest number I've seen ever. So we got a record today. 164 people watching. 165. Oh yeah. 167. Oh yeah. Let's get that up. Here we go. I'm hearing something 9455. And there's something on 7360. It's unfortunately in the noise. But 7360 and 9455. So I hear me hearing talk on 9455. So pretty interesting. So let's go back really quickly down because I want to see everybody. David Martin's significant source of RFI from big screen LCD TVs. Yeah, a lot of them. Absolutely. So 9455 is the best frequency here, pretty much. So this is the BBC Midwinter broadcast. It's a once a year broadcast from there's 5875, 7360, and 9455. 5875 and 9455 are from the Warferton UK transmitter site. The 7360 is from the Ascension Islands transmitter site in the South Atlantic Ocean. It's for the troops in Antarctica. It's a special 30-minute broadcast that happens once a year. If you guys hear it well, record it. A lot of people want to have recordings. Shortwavelistening.com website want to have recordings. If you guys can make some. Utku Kilik, nice to have you here. Sony ICF Shortwave 11 has TRT Shortwave 5950. Nice to have you here, my friend. Brett Wayne, KC2NXP from Salamanca, New York. Nice to have you here. iRight61, nice to have you on board making some pesto for dinner. Cool. Sakura DX, nice to have you here from Japan. Nice to have you on board. And please do ask. Yeah, it was Vatican Radio was there before. Northern Dawn, nice to have you here, Northern Dawn. Nuno Oliveira, nice to have you on board. Says 5875 in Portugal is okay. Scott Cranston, nice to have you on board. 9455 coming in strong. PLF Radio has big signal on 9455. Radio Week signal work 9455 came in Utah. Kevin Wood 9455. DM1 DJK says signal 405 on the S350DL with telescopic. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, probably David Martin. 167 for field day bump and my personality. I'm not sure. Is my personality enough to bump the number of viewers? If I smile, will the count go up? If I get mad and drunk, does the count go up? So, opening a second beer with, of course, a piece of orange, because this is Belgian Moon Ale, and I kind of like to have the orange part of it. Kind of gives it a nice little taste. So hope you guys are enjoying our show today. This is, of course, the chasing of the BBC Midwinter broadcast. 9455 is, you know, if I didn't have that S56 noise floor, I would actually be able to hear what they're saying on 9455. Actually, it's better than last year. Last year, I believe I heard nothing. 9455 is actually at least here a little bit. Mickey the Munch says 9455 with big signal here at 2130. Cool. D1DJK says in Europe and North America it should be quite good to listen to Ascension broadcast north direction from Africa. So the problem here is 7360 in North America is we're still in pretty much almost mid daylight, so it's kind of difficult. Bob Bertola minus 100 dBm at 7360, noise floor at 100 minus 100 dBm here. Got carrier but cannot hear modulation. It's pretty much like here. Noise and signal are almost at the same level. Mad Radio DXer U20 7360 is great reception. Let's check it out here with let's check it out here with I'm gonna unplug from my, and we'll actually tune it around on an SDR. We'll cheat a little since the signal is not very good. Let's go to SDR.H2. And I'm going to tune it's actually it's interesting because on 9455 the Yaesu FT450 seems to have close to the same audio as the W6 LVP loop on the SDR. But it is better than last year. Last year I didn't hear it at all. So let's take one of the receivers here and which one here? Green. Okay, let's check that one here. Let's tune 7360 and see if I can hear it well. So let's open it. Let's go here. 7360. Go. The volume up.
Point during your overwintering when you can start to look forward.
Yeah. That's 7360. This is from an Italy SDR, which seems to be noisy though.
Celebrating 200 years since the Antarctic was first sighted. I hope that however gloomy the midwinter period is, it comforts you to know that it was probably worse 200 years ago. And it was a lot worse 75 years ago.
9455.
Science that has been gained from that absolutely vital. And what we assume is
9455 is a little better, but that one, that SDR seems to be noisy.
for your contribution to that. I hope Midwinter's Day is a very good day for you.
Princess Ahmed and Princess Royal. Vicky Hall, you spent summers at another research station that's been going in 6 different sets of buildings since 1956, the Halley Research Station. But for the 3rd winter running, there's no one
Let's
there.
try another one. I'm going to try one from I'm going to try one from Sweden here. Let's check out that Swedish one. So you guys in Sweden. Whoa.
Time ago.
Oh, this one's pretty good. So this one's from Sweden.
Between 1971 and 1972, the Atlantic universe has about 40 of these red dogs. We see no one else since the ship left in March, and since then the sun has disappeared. Now the twilight was getting shorter and shorter. But midwinter was the turning point when I could start looking forward again to summer. Because the base had been built in Malaysia, it was getting deeper each year. And now,
I'm hearing it here, but it's not super strong.
so going out, we had to get that key.
Really nice to see this, and getting that on these on these receivers across Europe. You guys in Europe are having an amazing signal out of it. Scrotus XL, nice to have you here from the UK. Midsummer here, and of course, all our Brits on Ascension are freezing their nuts. Well, actually not on Ascension, but in Antarctica. They are. Keep calm and have a beer, absolutely. Cheers. JD Williamson, 7360 is stronger here in the Netherlands. Secuda DX, is it possible that SDR would be broken with some modifying operation and settings? Secuda DX, I saw your question. Let me just go back up a little bit. I just heard some "Ooh," and that's on the radio. I had ELAD SDR. Tried to manage for widen the frequency range. Brought SDR out of order. No signals came out. I found that might be broken. How do you do that? How did you do that actually? Did you modify it on the electronics? Radio Telescope, nice to have you on board. And on 13851 7360 S9 plus 10. Levi Nathan in Israel, 7360 S5, pretty cool. Donald Hosmer, terrestrial audio in Michigan on 9455. Nuno Oliveira, 7360 in Portugal. PageMaster, 7360, I can barely see on the waterfall, but Spectrum part of SDR play, I cannot pick it up. Ray Kelly says 7360 is better than 9455 at Nova Scotia. Interesting. Interesting. That's, what else do we have? Terry Colgan, nice to have you here. If I missed anything, guys, or if I forgot to say hi or didn't see you, please say hello again, for sure. Happy hour with Joe. 5875 7360 and 9455. 5875 7360 and 9455. Ascension Island is 7360, Mike DX. Ascension Island is 7360. The two other ones are from Wolverton, UK. You know what, Sakura DX? We also have cicada sounds. Usually start in August here in Montreal. Also, Sakura DX. As it's pretty much summer here too. D1DJK 7360, so much better than 9455. Pretty interesting. Ronald Hester, nice to have you on board. He lives on top of mountain in North Carolina, 2,100 feet. That must be nice DX in there. Terry Cook, 9455, weak but readable in Montana. Mickey says try VE6JY Kiwi. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try that. So there's some music right now. You know, it's not very strong for the audio, but I do hear. I can notice that, you know, there's some music on the frequency. It's just strong enough for that, but unfortunately, let's try it. The V6JY. Let's go back out. They've really improved on the mobile Kiwi SDR stuff. Last year when I was trying, it didn't work well on a mobile device. Now it does. V6JWall in Lamont, Alberta, Canada. Let's try that one, man. Let's try that one. Check it out here. So that's Alberta. Here we go. Let's try 9455. Go. There's some static crashes, but it does work well, actually. Oops. Static crashes, but it actually is received really well in Alberta.
Your lovely hairy face. Lucky lot from we all do. Tommy, Gab, Sarah, and Renee. Her diamond clear street with more sales than she's ever seen. She gave up the iron.
But a lot of static crashes from thunderstorms.
Taking through the tossing, avoiding fully on her button. We love you and miss you, and want to say out loud, the work that we're doing is making us so proud. And it's been so nice till you return to us in sunny Pride. Clear future and everyone on Grand Island.
Okay, Donald Hosmer. So it's for the scientific staff at the base. Okay. I thought it was for some troops. But it would be logical that it'd be for some scientific staff, as most of that is, of course, scientific in nature. Well, thanks for correcting me on that. JT Meredith got the transmissions on 9455 and 7360 S3 to S5 in North Carolina with ICOM 7200. Cool, and nice to have you on board, my friend. Ray Erdink got 7360 Leeds, UK. Now I know what listening for. Cheers. Johnny the Axer, nice to have you here. W3JMC in the Philadelphia suburbs. Playing around with my newly acquired Yaesu VX7R. Cool. Pretty cool. P1DJK, when I can receive the signals with my telescoping antenna, works perfectly on S350DL. Let's try to put the F words to a minimum, D1DJK, and offend some people sometimes. I do work quite hard to not do that. Vasily Strelnikov, nice to have you here. 7360, only decent one in Moscow on his W6 LVP. Cool. Welcome aboard, my friend, from Moscow. Simon Templar, nothing on 7360 or 9455 in Portland, Oregon. 9455, Terry Colgan is Warferton, UK. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, cheers to new radios, absolutely. Absolutely. Matambale says 59.90 also listed for BBC today. Okay, because the official site that I've seen, or the official list that I've seen, was 58, only 3 frequencies. But if they have one more, cool. JDX, they must be using lower power at perfect reception for the test. It could just be propagation, Jerry. Don't forget about that. Propagation, you know, on shortwave, propagation changes minute to minute. I mean, you know, you never know. Bob Bertolis says, my COM 1A can receive very good, but my new SDR Play Duo can barely get the modulation. Iron noise on the SDR Play, disappointing. You need to check it out. Check out carefully, my friend, because that means that there's a possibility your computer is creating a lot of noise in your SDR. I have, because if you have the SDR Play Duo, this is the one I have here is from the same family. It's the RSP1A. So it's an SDR Play radio also. My SDR Play, my RSP1A, does not have more noise than my other radios. It has the same noise floor. So you need to be careful and check out your setup because something's definitely not right. It shouldn't be noisier, honestly. I kicked the camera. So it shouldn't be noisier, okay? Make sure you've got a really good USB cable. One of the first things that I did when I started dabbling around with SDRs is getting high quality USB cables that have shielding. Because a lot of the USB cables you buy out there are the cheapest thing that just will act as an antenna and pick up all the noise, or take the noise from your computer and just jam it into the SDR. And that changed when I purchased high quality USB cables. They are more sturdy. You could see it because when you hold it, it's heavier and it actually is more sturdy. You see that it has more shielding with it, and that already made a difference. And I tell you, and the computer you're using is probably important. You know what? I have several laptops, and right now, this is an HP desktop. They're not all equal, and I can tell you, the power supply of your computer could be a big problem with an SDR. To give you an idea, I have an HP, not an HP, sorry, a Toshiba, that I purchased a power supply from a third-party company. Instead of having the original Toshiba supply, this is just to give you guys an idea. So this is a original Toshiba power supply, which is powering my laptop right now. This thing has zero noise. Plugged or unplugged, I see no difference in here. I see no difference in my computers or my radios. But I purchased a weird branded whatever power supply because to replace another one. And at the time, I didn't really care because I was not doing SDRs. I was not playing around with software-defined radios. And it didn't matter for me back then because, I would just unplug because I hadn't noticed it would do noise in my ICOM, for example. I would just unplug it and not use that PC when I do radio. I would use the main PC. But then came SDRs, and one of the things that I like about the Toshiba, the other Toshiba, is it has a 17-inch screen on the laptop. And the bigger the screen, the more interesting it is when you have an SDR. And I plugged the weird branded power supply, and the noise on this thing went crazy with all these wavy lines of all that everywhere. And that's where I noticed, very noisy. When I'm on the batteries, it's quiet. When I'm on the power supply, it's impossible to listen to anything. So that also is a very important thing. The power supply, make sure, for my computer, one thing for sure is I will only buy the official branded. It's more expensive, absolutely. But I will only buy the official branded Toshiba power supply when I replace. Because the other ones are crazy noisy. And, stay away from the really cheap power supplies, by the way. Because they are really, really bad. If you buy, like those $20 power supplies for a laptop, forget it. You're gonna get a bunch of noise. And frankly, if you have got a $1,000 computer, you really want to put a $20 power supply on it and risk, because you never know what could happen also. So there's a big difference. So check it out. Check it out, because you should not on the SDR Play Duo have higher noise than on your regular radio. Something's just not right. I don't on my RSP-1A. So it's the same thing, Bob Bartola. It should be the same. You shouldn't have that much of a difference, honestly. SWL60N says that he's got 5875, 7360, and 9455 really loud and clear. So in Sweden, well, I tried the Swedish Kiwi SDR, and it was amazingly good. He uses his Texan PL365 with telescoping antenna, so pretty nice. Pretty nice. You want a JK 5875 best frequency. I mean, sound WBCQ comes in great here, even on my SDR. Old-time music on 9330, says Johnny the Xer. Matt says, damn it, hearing thunder again. Probably the same crashes I heard in Lamont, Alberta, just up north. Nothing on 5990, so I don't think they are using a 5990. 12095, yeah, normal programming, that's what it should be. Hey Mick, nice to have you on board, my friend. Had a bump in, joining a bit late. Mrs. H had a bump in her car on the way home. Whoops. The important thing is not a car, is if the persons and the people are alright. That's the best thing, okay? Okay, Matambali. I don't think it is, because the official announcements were three frequencies, and the 3 frequencies that were sent to the HFCC. Oops, I lost everything here. Let's go back. What else do we have? Going down. Keegan says, last night WBCQ was strong enough to produce an image on 10,000 over WWV on his Ethon Grundig edition, Field BT. Wow. I know that people that are a little further away, because 9330 here is almost impossible. It's weak, and it's normal because Montessolomane is so close to Montreal that the 9330 kilohertz probably really skips over me, but across a big chunk of North America, everybody is saying that the signal is really amazingly strong. Alan Make Sense says, when I lived in Denver many years ago, occasionally got the WWVH better than WWV. Yeah, I remember when propagation, when solar activity was high, I would sometimes have WWVH stronger than WWV here in Montreal, especially on 15 megahertz. So, JDX getting good reception now. Cool. Maglone, are Chromebooks good on SDR? The problem with Chromebooks is that if you're on the Chrome OS operating system, I don't think there's any SDR software for them. Anybody using a Chromebook in the Chrome OS operating system, is there any SDR stuff that works there? I'm not sure a Chromebook has, it's like a Mac. I mean, if you use a Mac, there is SDR software. The problem is, on the Mac, there's very limited software for SDR. So it's sad for that. There's not a lot of choice. I know that for those that are using SDR Play devices, RSP1A and so on, the next version of SDR Uno that I'm using there is coming to Linux, Mac, and PC. So when that happens, if you got an SDR Play device, it's going to be great. You guys are going to have the same software. Hey, Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you on board. And Sheldon says that he's listening or hearing on the Chili SDR. The Chili SDR with good signal on 7360. And 9455 is making it okay here. Actually, a little better. You know what? If it would have been an hour later, I think this frequency 9455 might have been actually good. So this is my reception on the Yaesu FT450. So 9455 is actually making it to Montreal within the noise, but it's there. Original equipment manufacturers often is the best way to get good equipment. Absolutely. Keegan, yeah, the Grundig S450 DLX. It's a nice radio, actually. Oh yeah, that's the one you use with your Part 15 transmitter. Yeah. Pretty cool. Northern Dawn says too much hum here on 7360. 7360. What else do we have? What else is there? David in Barcelona says the Trust Universal Power Brick I'm using on my Asus laptop is very silent too. Makes me happy as I've used bricks that created thick, slow-moving lines in the waterfall. Yeah, these are nuts. I mean, I got my Acer laptop that I pretty much don't use anymore as the same crappy wavy line power supply thing. Chester Johnson, receiving some good music on 93.98, but I don't know what the station is. You're probably on 93.95, which is WRMI. They've been having a lot of music programs lately, Chester. Yep. What else do we have? Rufus Newt says install Linux on Chromebooks. Yeah, calibration is probably off because it's 93.95 probably. There's no station on 93.98. And there's a lot of music playing on WRMI 93.95 from Florida. Yeah, that's the thing, Bobby. Like Bobby says, Chromebooks need to be jailbroken and Chrome OS needs to be replaced with a Linux distro. So that's the thing. You know, maybe someday if Chromebooks become popular enough, there will be some native software for Chromebooks. But, yeah. David Arden, KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board. Simon Templar, there's this SDR software and the software repository for Raspbian for my Raspberry Pi. So yeah, I know a lot of people actually use SDR with Raspberry Pis. It must be a little slow, maybe, though, Simon? Is it a little sluggish? Because they're not very powerful devices. Almay Sam 93.95, good. Keegan says WWV from midnight to a few minutes to an hour or so after, followed by turning off Part 15 transmitter. Yeah, they've just removed themselves from the air now. So we just had the 30 minutes of BBC midwinter broadcast. Kind of cool. Cool, Ray. Got it recorded. Put that online. Put it on YouTube. Pretty cool. The Random Hobbyist. Nice to have you here. Been a while since I joined your show. Family life has been keeping on my toes. I never managed to take a 6-meter contact for the first time. Did you get your license yet? No, but this year is the time. So I will, before Christmas, I will have my license. I can tell you that. Simon says sluggish yes cannot handle a real wide bandwidth. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Red Wayne can hear the jet get over. I hear this planes all the time, so I can tell you that. You'll hear a lot of them. Oh man. So hey guys, I'm just gonna do a little self promotion if you like. Fastload, yeah, noted Fastload. You'll see before Christmas. PayPal.me/shortwave. Now I can see that Fastload is gonna like nag me. You know, when we go to the bar and have a beer, he's gonna say, "So when's your ham ticket? Come on, you said before Christmas." And that's all right. That's all right. Oh man. So PayPal.me/shortwave, or if you have PayPal and can't find that address or anything, you can send a donation to this Yahoo email that I just posted, and of course there's Patreon, where you can join 11 patrons that are actually giving me a little something every month. Patreon.com/radioincomputers. And hope that you enjoy what we do. Hope you enjoy what we do. Johnny the Xer, buy Joe more radios, burgers, and beer. And somebody asked me, actually, because somebody sent, actually 2 people sent me an email this week saying, you're asking for donations, and what if the donation I have is radio or antenna or anything related to radio for the shows? And I said, yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to be money at all. It could be, if somebody wants to send me a radio, absolutely. I got absolutely no problem with that. It's a fine donation. I even have somebody that I need to answer back that asked me if he would like to purchase a rotor for my loop for me. If I could have one not too expensive, that would be good. He would be happy to buy it for me and send it to me. So, it's kind of cool. I mean, people are watching my videos, and you guys have been great, actually, honestly. This is the first, I'll be honest, this is the greatest job in the world. I mean, waking up in the morning and thinking that you're going to do videos today and doing it from home, it's kind of hard to complain, that this is not the greatest job in the world. But it's and you guys are the greatest fans in the world also. I mean, it's just a lot of fun to have you guys here. But it costs money to operate and everything. And yeah, of course, I get that comment all the time. Is, do you monetize? Of course I monetize the channels. I do get a paycheck from Google, because Google is the paycheck behind YouTube. And of course. But I'm not rich, I'm living a nice life, but it could be better. But your donations help in paying equipment, they help in making this possible. I mean, come on, guys, look at that poor little kitty here, okay? Look at the poor kitty here, sleeping like a baby, huh? How can you not want to give a donation to buy food for that little kitty? And yes, the radio's on the floor here because it's a big mess there for the analog stuff that are going there, and I'm doing that this weekend. That's why the radios are all on the floor right now. So anyways, this is a lot of fun to do, and your donations always help a lot in paying for everything. And I want to thank everybody who donated. And like every time, I'm always trying to reach to the ones that are never donated before. Thanks. And if you can spare $1, why not? PLF Radio says BBC midwinter broadcast from best to worst were hearable in France. 9455, 5875, and 7360. And he recorded them. Cool. Don't forget, guys, that shortwavelistening.com wants to have your recording of it. Luke Little, nice to have you on board, my friend. Take care, Maglon. Nice to have you on board, as usual. Sheldon Harvey, have a great weekend, everyone. Gotta run. Take care, my friend. Yes, check us out on CKUT FM Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m., 14:30 UTC, International Radio Report, in which I'm part of the show with Sheldon and David. And listen to us on CQUT.ca. And absolutely, it's a great little show. And something coming. Yes, we will, Simon. We will absolutely have to talk on HF, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of you out there that will want to have, and I mean, we'll do that also. We'll do also we'll even try to have contacts live on the show, maybe, or stuff like that from time to time. Random Obvious, you get your ticket. Hope to talk to you on the air, VA3BPT. Absolutely, you're right. Yeah, Fastload, no worries. I'll put up something for the antenna on HF. Don't worry about that. Even if it's a makeshift wire of some kind that I'll be cutting and working on. My sloper actually is also a transmitting antenna. The design of the antenna is made to accept transmission up to 100 watts. Johnny the Extra, cat food for Jill. Cat food for Jill, and hamburgers for Paul the cat. See you Sunday morning, Sheldon, by the way. Shortwave equipment test driver. Yes, Jill is my hero. Wake up, Paul. Oh, man. Rufus Ninja, you need to come to the OARC Hamfest in September. We'll write my lessons there. Accredited examiners, plus I need more gear. Fast little small violin music in the background. What else do we have? Donald Hosmer says, time to grill my burgers and catch the network news. 73s. Take care, my friend W8SWL. And West Branch, Michigan. Nice to have you on board, my friend. He's dreaming about DXing. Yes, this group is absolutely fantastic for sure. Max Estrong, would you accept equipment on loan just to do test reviews? Yes, I would actually. To review them, we just have to make sure that it gets here and goes back to the original place in good condition. But to do reviews or to say what I think about it, absolutely, that could be an option. Absolutely. Absolutely. David, cute sleeping Paul. Yeah. Actually, I didn't want to move the chair because he's, from my angle, he's even cuter than what you guys have seen. Oh, man. David Martin, that's a Tom Kitty. What is on 9570, says Northern Dawn. 9470. Anything here? I got nothing on 9570. Well, maybe, yeah, a week, something weak. But I got something on 9565, which is Radio Mark T. I got Radio Mark T on 9565, actually. There's Voice of Turkey, 9830 kilohertz. Voice of Turkey, 9830 kilohertz in English.
Fabulous support for independence for the Georgian breakaway regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, and the support of Russian President Vladimir Putin in Georgia. Has Tom Duncan attends articles from the building. Earlier, tens of thousands of rallies and social civility demanding people elected.
With scripts. Let's check it out on the Yisu here. I mean, 30.
On Orthodoxy, Russian lawmakers present in field for pro-Russian Georgia's parliament prompted outrage in the
That's on the Yisu.
Which in 2008 posed and lost the brief a bloody war with Moscow.
And that's using my sloper in the backyard. Yisu with sloper in the backyard. And RSP1A with my W6 LVP loop. It's interesting because 9690, I'm barely. Actually, whoa. Spain is out of the air. 9690 has nothing on it. It should be in English. 9690 kilohertz. Spain isn't there. I'm hearing Turkey though. David Martin, Belgian white ale or blue moon, which is better? You know, I am kind of a sucker for white ales, so both are probably really good, honestly. Johnny the Xer, CRI in French. I've got nothing on the other frequency. No, it's not over. It's just I was just posting for the donation stuff, but it's not. Absolutely not. Um, mm, 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 mm. So, Northern Dawn drinking Estrella with the radio. Johnny DX or burgers and beers for the kitty? Yeah, beers for the kitty. I would like to see that. I could see everybody. Oh, Brett Wayne says if I get my ham ticket, he sends me $100 for the transmit antenna. Oh ho! That now we're talking. Douglas Perry, nice to have you on board, my friend. Take care, PLF Radio. Fais attention à toi. À la prochaine. How do you want the JK? DX Paul will have the first cat to have his DX ham license. You know, that's what happened a few weeks back, Ethan Best. All Radio Exterior Hispania frequencies are dead. That happened. VE7 Paul. VE2 Paul. VE2 Cat. I actually like the SDR sound better, Fassel, personally. The Yaesu sound is muffled. It's an SDR radio. I find it a little kind of muffled. It's missing frequency ranges. I personally like the sound of the SDR better. Through the microphone, it's kind of difficult maybe to really notice, but I prefer the SDR one. VE2 gel. Oh, that would be nice, Keegan. KE9AM. Yeah, or KE6 AM. That would be good. Hey, Simply Air, nice to have you on board. Yeah, I do have a flat roof, but the problem is this isn't my house. And I don't want to mess too much with having stuff on the roof, or, you know, my landlord is okay, but I not to stretch it too much, not to stress it too much. I can tell you that for sure. But don't worry, guys. Once I get my ticket, I'll be on the air. You guys will see that I'll be on the air. I will have what it takes. No worries about that. The transmit antenna is the last thing, you know. Well, the Yaesu FT450, David, has an auto tune. When you actually key up the FT450, it actually auto tunes. It has an auto tuner included inside, and so even though it's not super resonant, probably, but it's still, it already has an auto tune. Yeah, like Fastload says, the FT has a tuner. It's an auto tune inside, so it matches. Even if it doesn't match it will match with the auto tune. That would be nice. Yeah, I would. With cat. VE2 cat. Take care, D1 DJK. It's always nice to have you on board, my friend. Yeah, well, they're probably all taking the VE2. There's not a lot of VE2 around, I can tell you that. Thanks, my friend, for the nice comments. Bob Bertola, thanks, John. It is my first day with the SDR Duo. Just by removing the AC supply from my computer, dropped the noise by 15 dB. Now I will get a better shielded cable than a beer. Get a better shielded cable, and remember, because on a laptop, it might be your power supply. So you got to just make sure that the power supply isn't the problem. That also can be a... Is it raining? I think it's raining. That's kind of weird. It was kind of sunny not long ago. So another plane passing by, as these guys see. So it could be the power supply. So you might need to work out on that. Depending on your laptop, you might need to run it off of batteries a little bit. So, but at least, check that out. If you guys are running an SDR on a laptop, of course, remove the power supply, run it on batteries, and see the level of noise. If the noise drops and you start hearing signals everywhere, your power supply or your USB cable might be the problem. So check it out, okay? The problem with an SDR is that a software-defined receiver plugs on a computer, and yeah, the computer can induce a lot of noise into it. So you'll have to check that out because it's a possibility. Jenny Williamson's vertical AHF antenna, multi-band and portable, though it's 10 meter long. Whoa! But like I said, don't worry, guys. Once I get my ham license, having a transmit antenna will be the last of my worries. David says, I use an MFJ 930 auto tuner on his ICOM 7100 radio. I'd like to get and receive only manual tuner for the ICR 8500. This way I'd be able to have the same antenna tuned up to 2 bands at the same time. Joe stumbled on US. Nice to have you on board. But that brings another question, David. If you plug 2 radios, okay, so first of all, you got to make sure that if you transmit, that your ICOM will be disconnected because you'll blow out the input, and I'm sure you know that. But at the same time, if the same antenna is on 2 radios with tuners, isn't that kind of gonna mess up, and you won't really know actually where you're tuned to? Because isn't that gonna change the properties of the antenna itself? Joe Summer, New House 5125 was there for not this week, but the other week before. It wasn't heard this week. I guess they might have stopped doing their tests. I haven't heard any tests or any posts of the Puerto Rico testing this week, so maybe they stopped doing the tests. Keegan says, "Showing in the background, I heard sparrows chirping earlier." Oh, absolutely. The window's open, so and there's a lot of birds here, so, and a lot of planes. Matambali 17550, Ministry of Information, State of Kuwait, S6, barely audible. 17550. There is something here. Absolutely. No, there's nothing here. There's something on. No, that's kind of a noise. I heard Radio Kuwait. I wish Radio Kuwait would understand that DRM, nobody's listening to DRM. Because I heard Radio Kuwait in English in AM mode on 15540, and it was kind of nice to hear Kuwait in English. And they're always in DRM. I don't know. Somebody should tell them nobody's listening. Stop using DRM, use AM. Well, you know what, Max S-Strong, it depends on your setup. Because actually, honestly, if I didn't have the RSP1A or an ESDR, I would buy another SDR, RSP1A or SP Duo, or some SDR, because the problem with connecting a radio to a computer will always be that problem of inducing noise within the device. But when it runs well, like right now, I don't have noise from the computer on this thing. It is such an amazing thing to have a visible waterfall, a visual of all the signals around you. It's just great. So yeah, if you hate computers, a SDR is not for you for sure. For sure. David, yep, the FT450 has an internal auto tuner. Yep. So it already can tune anything pretty much. Lee Thompson, nice to have you here. Residential Indianapolis. I have a constant S5 noise. I normally go to the National Forest an hour south to spend the weekend on the air. Well, you know, S5 isn't that bad, honestly. And it is the noise level, absolutely, but isn't that bad when you consider that it could be much worse on some setups. But yeah, it's the way to go, for sure. If we get Jill to fix our computers. Oh man. Chinaboba says, what is the difference from having a license for life for CB home-based operators? What has changed since the 80s? Well, I don't know, because I don't know here in because there's no CB licenses in Canada and the United States anymore, and so it's not for CB. It's just that amateur radio operators now in Canada have their license for life. So if you pay, once you pass your course, you pay and you've got it for life, which is great, because I mean, I'm sure some, you know, I have a great example. My sister that had cancer that passed away, she was an AM radio operator. She had her license, which was Victor Echo 2 Delta Papa Oscar, which is now owned by somebody else. And she lost her license simply for one reason. She didn't take the time to renew. So for that reason, I think it's nice that you pay once and it's for life. Yes, it's great. I think it's a good idea, because I'm sure some AM radio operators lost their license and wanted to come back at some point later in life, but said, well, you know what, I got to get my license again. I got to go do all the tests and stuff. So the hell with it. By doing that, if for some reason you're out of the hobby for 10 years, and then you decide, hey, I want to go back. Well, you got your license. You just come back. So I think it's a good idea to have a license for life. Joey D, nice to have you on board, Joey. CU3EQ, nice to have you on board from Azores. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Simply, 2 radios into a good splitter into a tuner to the antenna seems to be a better option. Yeah, except that when you transmit, you're gonna you can't transmit with the splitter on, because you're gonna blow out the input of the other radio. Hey Louis, nice to have you here. Just curious, do live here a ham stored? I don't understand the question. If there's a ham store where I am in Montreal, there's really nothing much in the ham radio side of things. Lee is WA8QFE. Cool. David, yeah, I use a 4-way MFJ switch, but whenever I transmit with my IC7100, I unplug all the other radios. In theory, the switch should have enough isolation in between ports, but one to play safe. Huh, okay. Max Headstrong bought the ICOM 8600 for the waterfall and avoids SDR. Yeah, of course. That is one big flaw that I think the 8600 should have had for the price. It should have an outboard connector to send that waterfall to a big screen TV. That would be great. That would be great. That would really be great. Why wouldn't the ICOM include a VGA output on the A600? Because it would cost $2 more on the radio, and they want to make $2 more in profit. There's probably a little more than that. They need the circuitry to push out the video out. So it probably would have brought the radio up in price by like, 100 or something. And then again, there are some decisions that are taken sometimes that you kind of feel, really? I remember when I bought my Kenwood R5000 in 1990, I remember not being able to understand that when you purchase a $1,300 radio, that the good filters are not already inside it, that you have to buy them separate. And you know what? The suckers were $150 each. So it's like, yeah, you buy a $1,300 radio, and you spend another $150 if you want just one, because there were, 2 or 3 filters you could put in there. And you're like, oh, you can add $500 to the price now because you want to have the filters. And that, okay, I understand price, and I understand that you want to try to make money with stuff. But I'm sorry, when you're in the $1,000 radio range, that radio should have all that's needed to be perfect. No extras of any kind. And I would have more respect for the companies that would do that than respect for companies that are trying to sell you. Come on. Honestly, the filters on the wait, I think Paul the cat wants to come over. Come here. Come on. The filters are not worth $150. When you look at them and how they're built, they're like, $10 filters. They're really sold at their high price. Mr. Paul the cat saying hi again to you guys. Look at that. Why not? How can you not give a donation for that little kitty? Look at that, guys. I know I'm rubbing it in a little bit. So Mr. Paul is here, and of course he wants to know what beer I drank. What's the beer? So Mr. Paul. I think it's time for beer number 3. What about it, guys? Beer number 3. So Mr. Paul is, of course, the trusty radio companion that is the cat he is. And so, we can rant, but I'm always thinking that when you buy a $2,000 radio, please stop selling me crap extras for $200, $300, $400, $500. Okay. And yeah, I think the ICOM 8600 should have had not a VGA out, an HDMI out. It costs nothing to build these things. They should have added an HDMI out, a very modern connection, and you could have that waterfall on any TV, any modern TV today. I have with VGA. VGA is the old stuff, the old standard. And what would be interesting, they could even push audio. They could have added that HDMI out with waterfall, and even have audio through your TV if you want to. Why not? David, okay. Joe Samranu says, here we have separate licenses for CB radio and ham radio. In these categories, we have mobile. So you guys still have, in Brazil, CB radio licenses. Here it's in the 80s that they decided that ham radio licenses would be kind of gone. So, here we go. Yes, Mr. Paul the cat. So, it's something that is they left it. It's too complicated. I'm not sure how many people got really licensed in the 70s or 80s, I'm pretty sure half of the CB operators probably didn't have a license back then, honestly. So, you know. David says, and because the switch is only switched to a single radio every time, even if all the radios are hooked up, the switch, the tuner, and other radios would only see the antenna and not the other tuners. Huh. Handy Tobin, nice to have you on board. Doing pretty well. Yeah, Paul is woke up from his nap now. Yeah, HDMI is the way to go today. I mean, any new screen you buy will have HDMI today. It's the way to do things. VGA is old. It's an antiquated, you know, standard that should be gone. And of course, Paul the cat wants to almost sleep here. You guys don't hear him, but he's purring like crazy right now. So, you know. So, you know, I don't know. I think HDMI, these should have HDMI. Mick says, not having a license for CB was part of the appeal. Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it was. I don't know. Radio Week Signal just opened a Mill Street Tank House Ale. Well, I would open another beer. The problem is Paul is now all comfy on my arm, and I can't reach my beer now. Oh, God. One of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit was propagation, because I did have a lot of questions, people saying, you know, in the midday I don't hear nothing. You got to remember, guys, that propagation changes depending on the season. So in the northern hemisphere right now, you know, we're summer. This longest day of the year is today. And one of the things that happens during that period of time is that midday reception is pretty crappy. You know, local, you know, noon, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., it's kind of crappy. There's not that many signals. It's part of the way the ionosphere is ionized and how the sun is much higher, so the radiation changes the properties of the ionosphere. And there's a lot of absorption going on. It's different in the wintertime. In the wintertime, absorption is not much of a problem. So even at noon or 1 p.m., you sometimes hear signals from a certain distance on some of the frequencies. Also, there's a pattern. If you guys notice, when you hear higher frequencies, 15 meters, 10 meters, apart from sporadic E-skip that we've been getting a lot lately, by the way, when solar activity is higher, we tend to have more propagation, north-south propagation, or European propagation, say on 10 meters or 15 meters in the wintertime than we do in the summertime. Once again, all has to do with some very weird phenomena, absorption, the way that the ionosphere is ionized in the summer versus the winter. So there's a lot of that going on, and you got to remember that each season brings its own, I would say, its own positive propagation moments. So I was thinking when somebody was asking the other day, you know, it's crappy, I'm not listening, it's summer. It's like, no, okay, you don't totally understand propagation, because every season has its best times for different things. My personal observations, and this is personal observations of 30 plus years of radio listening, is enjoy summer evenings. Summer evenings are the best in propagation. They will give you, and I'm talking local evenings here, they will give you great propagation, first of all, because the days are longer, and you will get unusual things that you don't get in other times of the year. For example, I was telling you guys earlier that Radio New Zealand 13840 for me is a summer radio station. Why? Because 13840, or when they were on 15720, That's what comes in late in the evening here in Montreal, with usually a decent signal. 13840 has been kind of good, actually. I would say late in the evening, like maybe 10 or 11 p.m. local. Now, this is my example here, but depending on where you live in the Northern Hemisphere, you have your own stations that will be on higher frequencies that even after sunset will propagate. Another thing that I like a lot about summer propagation right now, a lot of hams from Europe, they wake up in the morning, 6, 7, 8 a.m. Just before they go to work, they want to make contacts. Because the North Pole is in daylight, in sunlight all the time, what happens, it's time for a beer, what happens is that when they go on the air, 20 meters is almost 24-hour band at this time of year, because they broadcast and they actually will send their signal over the North Pole towards North America and make contacts. And I mean, 20 meters has been open, even with the low solar activity we've been having, it's been open almost 24 hours. So it's kind of fun. And there's a lot of stuff to listen to in the summer evenings and through the night. It's time to listen to that, because in the wintertime it's kind of reversed. It's not necessarily reversed, but it is if you're in low solar activity. So now we are in solar minimum. Winters are crappy in the evening, but they are amazing afternoon to early evening, with all that you can hear from all over the world. So adapt your listening. We got to adapt our listening to the time of the year we're listening in. I tell you guys, I have a lot of fun in the summer, a lot of fun in the winter. I do have kind of a preference, the equinoxes. I mean, February, March, April, September, October, November, early November. They are great to give us another type of propagation where gray line positions us in very specific ways for reception of stations. It's a question of understanding and adapting our listening to the period of time that we are. We're summer. We're in the peak of summer now. And when I say the peak, is not temperature-wise, but propagation-wise. Today's the longest day of the year. It's the peak of that summer season. In July, in August, there will be a change. Slowly we'll see a change. Here, I've been having amazing reception pretty much all evening with tons of stations, even some that I've often had a lot of difficulty listening to. So it's time to listen in and to adapt our listening to the season we're into. I'm sure you all can, if you've been listening for a long time, you all have your favorite winter broadcast, summer broadcast, or spring or fall broadcast that you don't hear necessarily as well other times of year. One of the stations I've been really having a lot of fun tuning into lately is the BBC 7300 from Wooferton at 0100 UT. I mean, they've been coming in so well. It's just great. It reminds me of the BBC from a long time ago, times past in the 80s. Max S. Strong says he fried a Palstar LE30 receive active antenna over one time by accidentally transmitting into it. Whoops. But that was operator error. Expensive mistake, never did it again. Yeah, you got to be careful. Absolutely. You got to be careful. That's for sure. For sure. Bobby Burgess says, I might start my own two-way QSOing by becoming a GMRS operator first before I become a ham. Yeah, you guys in the US need a license for the GMRS stuff. We don't here in Canada, but there are big differences. You guys can power up to, I think, 50 watts in there, where here we're limited to the 5 watt limit on these little devices. You guys can even have repeaters on GMRS, which is kind of crazy. Joe Samranua says, yes, it's alive here, but for CB radio you have only to pay the tax. No test required. For ham radio you have to pass exams. Yeah, that's everywhere. The ham radio is exams. It's the same here in the 80s or before when there was that CB license. It was really just a you just had to pay a license. There was no course or no exam to pass. So for sure. No, GMRS frequencies are not on the same bands as the amateur radio stuff. So for sure. Bobby Burgess, as a former cart pusher at Walmart, I should know how it works because where you out on the parking lot pushing carts, you got to have a radio at the ready. Brad Wayne ran 4 radios into a switch to my amp. It works fine. So kind of interesting. Simply over here, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Worst time to listen on 20 meters. Brady KJ7GFT, nice to have you here. Have you tried the buzzer on your new antenna? I have not, because I just have not. But I should. And summer, when we're in the peak of summer like here, it's not usually the time for the buzzer here. But you know what? If I hear RWM, that's usually what the pattern I go to. I hear RWM time signal from Moscow on 4996. And it tells me, oh, I'm going to try the buzzer, 4625. But we'll have to try it for sure. You'll probably see a video of the buzzer on my new loop antenna for sure. Northern Down, Radio Saudi on 11820. William L., nice to have you here. Hey guy, picked up a smoking deal on Amazon Canada a few weeks ago. A Sangean ATS 909X Black for $220 Canadian, no tax, Amazon Prime. 2 days later, price increased to $311. Wow. How are you enjoying that ATS 909X? I got its older brother, the 909, the original 909. Jerry DX, not a happy camper right now. Had a loose connection on my antenna, fixed it, and had a perfect reception of the BBC broadcast. My bad. Yeah, sometimes it happens. There are things that you need to check and compare. You know, you never know what could happen, and especially with antennas that are outside, there's so much problems that can arise from that, for sure. Hey, John McClure, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. PageMaster. General Mobile Radio Service is a licensed radio service that uses channel around 462 and 467 megahertz. Yeah, in the United States, you guys have that in licensed stuff. Here it's free. We have 22 channels, GMRS, FRS, but it's free, but we're limited. You guys have possibility of repeaters. You guys have possibility of a lot of stuff that aren't available here in Canada compared to you guys. Steel Horses 2004 are the Degen DE1103 radios on eBay from China as good as original Kato 1103s. Supposedly have DSP chip. What I have to say, hey Neeson Greenwich, nice to have you on board from Dublin, Ireland. Pretty cool. What I know is that I got mixed bag results when I read the reviews. So the original D1103 or the Kato K1103 is this one. This is the original one that was manufactured, and it is a darn good radio, honestly. Very unique in its way, and the way that they actually kind of, try to, they use an LCD line to kind of imitate an analog dial. It's kind of cute. It's kind of an interesting thing. Now, The original KA 1103 from Kato, or the Degen D 1103, and they are the same radio, by the way, are very good. This is a very good one, and actually I should do a what if I only had this radio this week, because you guys need to see this in action again. I haven't used this one in a while now. I need to turn it on. So what I see is that the original is good, and I can't really have a grasp on the DSP version. Some guys that have the DSP version, the newer version, have told me that it's good, and I've seen a lot of posts of people saying that it's bad and that it's not as good as the original one. So I don't know what to think, because I don't have enough information about it to think if it's better or not. But a lot of what I've been reading seem to point out that the original one is better, like the one I have here. Pagemaster, GMRS licensee may use a combination of portable, mobile, fixed, and repeater stations consistent with the operational and technical rules, subpart E of part 95. The use of some channels is restricted to certain types of stations. Certain channels are reserved for voice-only operations, while other channels allow voice and data operations. Kind of interesting. Yes, Max says strong. Long live radio. And cheers, guys. You guys are great. David in Barcelona says a NRD 545, pretty good receiver, so I can use getting caught in the same collector's market. I don't think Japan Radio NRD series, I don't think there's any bad radios in there. The Japan Radio, they were very expensive, but all of the radios are just crazy good, for sure. Pagemaster, remember earlier just said did not want people to use the F word. I only use the F word I use is frequency. So the new F word is frequency. So when somebody does something bad, we should just say, hey, get the frequency out of here. That would be great. Get the frequency out of here. We got it? Oh, man. Okay. What else do we have? Hey, Thomas Witherspoon. Nice to have you on board. It's been a while. It's really nice to have you here, Tom. Yeah, we've been talking about the shortwavelistening.com website, and some people here have recorded the BBC Midwinter broadcast. So there's some recordings and there's some stuff in here. Nice to have you here, Thomas. Honestly. No, PMR, well, no, I don't think PMR and GMRS are the same thing. I'm not sure, actually. Get the frequency of this frequency. WTFK. What's the frequency, Kenneth? WTF. What the frequency are you listening to? Rufus Newt, can you do a show on RTTY, SSTV, weather facts? Last week the RTTY listen was good. Well, you know what? How about next Friday we do a digital mode special? We are going to tune digital modes only and try different software and different. We'll simply be looking at what, all the decoding that we can do and stuff like that. Would you guys be interested in having an all digital mode show next week? How about that? Is that a good idea? I think it could be a very interesting idea. Yeah, what's the frequency, Kenneth? It's an REM song, actually. Yep, can decode FT8. Bro Weaver, nice to have you here, says, yes, all digital mode show. Rufus Newt says, thanks, Joe, donation on the way. Cool, thank you very much. So, yep, next week is going to be an all-digital mode show. We will try FT4. You know what? I've never decoded FT4. So this week we're going to check that out, and I'm going to try to, maybe it'll be my, maybe I'll have my first FT4 mode decoding. Who knows? So yeah, that's a good idea, actually. We'll have an everything. We'll decode everything. You know, every mode possible we'll try. We'll try to get modes that we've never decoded before. Anything. And maybe we can arrange it with some of you guys. If some of you amateur operators would like to try to have contacts in different digital modes, we could try to get the signals and decode them live here. And I mean in weird modes that we don't see all the time. So that could be a lot of fun. That could be a lot of fun. So an all-digi show. Okay. It's all decided. Next week it's an all-digital mode show. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm actually going to change something here. I can't... Now, I'm having... This HP computer that I'm using as a desktop is actually creating headaches because since I updated FLDG, it doesn't actually accept the input-output of the audio card. It's driving me nuts. And there's a few things that are annoying me totally on the HP desktop. So I will probably be... There's a Core i3 Windows machine that I almost ain't using now. I'm going to actually change things and probably plug that thing. Whoa. The electricity almost went out, guys. I don't know. I hope it didn't do anything to the stream. All of my light bulbs just like went down a little bit. I even saw kind of a wavy thing on my laptop. I was like, what the hell is that? Too much power being used because I'm streaming on the internet. So anyways, I might be using the laptop here, which will be up on the screen, for that. And we'll be decoding digital modes for sure. That's for sure. We need to show fix all computer show. Yeah, I mean, I was like, what the hell? What the hell is happening? It's like crazy. Did you guys see a difference in the lighting? It was like, whoa. Who, Calvin Morgan? Nice to have you here. I would like to try narrowband TV. You know, one of the things in the UHF range that I never have received, and I would love to, for a while, there was a guy sending out some TV broadcasting. And some TV broadcasting, and on narrowband UHF. You know, there's part of the UHF 70 centimeter range where you can actually send amateur TV. And I never decoded anything of that, and I would have loved to do that. Unfortunately, I don't hear any of that anymore. It's just crazy. David says, nice, I can try transmitting FT8. Actually, I haven't done that before, so I can... So how about all of you hams out there, okay? Get prepared for next week. And if you want to try to... if you want to send some digital modes that we can try to decode, and maybe try to have contacts. Maybe you guys can send some CQs, trying to get, contacts and digital modes between you guys on the HF bands. I think that could be a lot of fun for next week. So, you don't have to, but if you want to, it could be kind of interesting, honestly. So, Max Strong says, just spent $1,200 on a new laptop. I hope to get 30 days of trouble-free operations. You shouldn't get any trouble of operations on a laptop. Oh, I remember you had a lot of problems with your laptops, you know. Yeah, 20 meters could be a good frequency range, absolutely. PW3 UK, nice to have you here, by the way. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And we will try to decode as many digital modes as possible. Maybe we can do a count, some kind of a count. How many digital modes can we actually decode in a whatever hour, you know, how many hours we'll be doing the show. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun, actually, like Who Calvin Morgan, to get some slow scan TV pictures. That's always a lot of fun. That's always a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be pretty cool. PageMaster says the FT4 protocol for digital contesting. Yeah, I've been actually reading about that yesterday. I upgraded I actually upgraded WJSTX software for the digital modes here. So Rufus Newt, the software you guys might need is multi PSK, FLDG, WSJTX. These three software will pretty much decode everything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. M. Blair, nice to have you here. I've actually only once, saw somebody sending a CQ and HEL signals, which was kind of very unusual and nice to actually get. One of the biggest problems in some of the modes, like, you know, Olivia, for example, when you have Olivia and MFSK, it's difficult to, I mean, if you guys have been doing digital modes for a long time, one of the things that you might actually notice is that we all do the same thing. At some point, we actually listen with our ears, and we often usually just with our ears are able to know what mode and what shift and what, you know. I remember doing that with radio teletype and immediately knowing when it's, you know, RTTY 45 or RTTY, you know, the baud rate or, you know, or the shift. Just by ear, we can often, like, yeah, that's, you know, that type. But there are things like, you know, when MFSK, Olivia, darn, it's difficult to know exactly what you are listening to and what mode is actually being used. It's very hard. And sometimes, I don't know how many times I've played detective and heard an unusual 20-meter digital mode and had, like, went through so many modes. And there's not just the mode, because you got to understand that there's, oh, that must be Olivia, but is it 16500? Is it, what is the speed, the shift? It's sometimes painfully difficult to just find the correct mode on it. So, you know, it's kind of crazy. Calvin29, nice to have you on board, Calvin. Pretty cool. Yeah, FLDG will be one of them. You know, it's one of the great pieces of software. Multi-PSK, apart from the interface that is a mess, it's actually a very nice decoding software also for a lot of modes. There's a lot of modes in multi-PSK that there's not in FLDG. WSJTX for the FT8, JT65, FT4. We'll be trying that. So next week is going to be a lot of fun, I think, to check that out for sure. FLDG for the one of the things, if you guys, because you know there's different platforms for software, and so if you guys are using Linux, FLDG is actually, and most distros now, FLDG is actually in the software store, because most Linux distros now have kind of a software store where you can go to and get the software to download. FLDG is there on almost any distros now. You just go to their that store on Ubuntu or Mint, Linux Mint, and you just download FLDG from there. If you are using a Mac, FLDG is also compatible with Macs, and it's a darn good piece of software. I ran it for a long time on a MacBook that I had here. So pretty cool. Alan W, nice to have you here. Picked up a nice Allen Co DXR8 receiver on eBay recently. Very sensitive receiver, nice audio. I can tell you one thing is that the Allen Co DXR8 has always been having pretty good notes on receiver side, for sure. Vista. Well, I'm not sure. I think FLDG actually works up to Windows XP. I should, we're going to check it out here live. FLDG works for. So FLDG software. So the latest version of FLDG. Yeah. Setup. I just gotta. Okay, FLDG text. Maintenance, yeah. Let me just check it out here. Trying to see. Trying to see what versions of Windows it actually works on. It's kind of not always easy to find this. Compatible with. Yeah, support. I'm trying. One thing you can do if you've got an older operating system is that you can maybe get an older version if it doesn't. But I believe FLDG works on Windows XP. I unfortunately don't have any XP machines anymore here, and even less a Windows Vista machine. But I'm wondering if it's still not compatible with Windows XP. Sometimes it's the packages. When they don't upgrade the packages that much, it can actually work on. It does work on 7. It works on 8, and it works well on 10. That's for sure. So next week I want to have somebody decode digital modes in Windows 3.1. Anybody sends me a screenshot of decoding digital modes on Windows 3.11, I am sending them a special gift. That would be nice. Digital mode decoding on Windows 3.11 or Windows 95. Eduardo Montero, nice to have you on board from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Nice to have you here, Eddie. Cool. So don't forget, guys, anybody decoding digital modes on Windows 3. On DOS 6.2. Yeah, Blair, why not? Let's go. Let's go back. I'll be decoding radio teletype on my Commodore 128 or on the Amiga 500. Let's decode digital modes. Oh God. Satellite contact on FM digital mode. Yeah, that would be interesting. On Windows 3.11, I would think that radio teletype and Morse code would be the modes to decode. I'm sure Windows 3.11 had a radio teletype software decoding thing. I'm pretty sure. I mean, the first time I decoded radio teletype was on a Commodore 64 with that famous SWL cartridge that you could actually insert in the back. So that I remember that, and decoding radio teletype on a Commodore with that. I don't know what happened to that cartridge, unfortunately, because I would really, really have loved to have that cartridge and do some videos of decoding radio teletype and Morse code on a Commodore computer. Unfortunately. Madame Bali could break out the TRS-80 and decode some RTQI with it. Yes! Digital modes on the TRS-80. Rufus News, I have an OS X machine, OS 10 machine software. FLDG works. You'll have FLDG on OS 10. That's for sure. I can tell you that. Nathan Bali did write code to decode RTPY and Morse long time ago. Oh yeah, Windows ME, Windows Millennium. And you know, if you would have an old, you know, one of the things I told someone, there was a guy that had sent me an email. He had a Windows XP laptop that really worked, and he said, you know, I can't do anything anymore. What should I do with it? And I said, you know what? A Windows XP machine could be a good machine to decode some digital modes. You just dedicated to a digital mode decoder, and that's it. So you won't have the latest software, but you will still decode a lot of the major digital modes, for sure. Take care, Matt. Nice to have you on board. So the next official show will be next Friday, 2000 UTC, and it's dedicated to digital mode decoding. No cheating. We won't listen to any voice broadcasts. Only digital modes. But all the software works great in the latest versions of Windows 10 also. So OS 2. Oh man, OS 2. Oh wow. I don't know if OS 2 had some software for that. Almost every platform did. OS 2 was popular enough that I think there must have been at least some basic decoding software. You know what changed the world actually, really, in the old times was the fact that for a long time decoding digital modes required hardware. So you had to hook up some hardware to your computer. You know, so there was that what was the PK232 thing? That was that box that decoded digital modes and had a VGA output. So for a long time, digital modes were hardware related. You needed a box or a box connected to your computer. And what changed the whole world of digital modes is when sound cards, duplex sound cards, could actually handle a lot of that with software. You could now, using a sound card, I remember being amazed when I had my first Sound Blaster sound card in a PC, like a 286, and running DOS, and I remember seeing a piece of software that would decode, I think it was Morse code, using the sound card. And I was like, wow, really? From the sound card? I mean, that changed the world, because now today, everything on the PC goes through the sound card, pretty much, for decoding digital modes. It's just crazy. But before that, we had to have, a box or some hardware to do it. David says, I actually got to connect a Windows Millennium machine to my home's Wi-Fi. Oh man, using a USB dongle. Pretty remarkable considering that when that computer was purchased, Wi-Fi still didn't exist. Well, you know, Windows Millennium had, when I started doing some tech jobs, Windows 98 was really king of the home computer. But Windows Millennium brought a few changes that Windows 98 didn't have, including natively seeing USB thumb drives, which were brand new back then. Where in Windows 98, you needed a driver. If you guys remember, Windows 98, you had to have that little driver disk to have it read a USB thumb drive. Crazy. Anita Martinez, nice to have you on board. K2SOD tell K2SOD that I love him. From Les in New York City. Okay. Well, here you got it. The message got across. Well, there's no losing YouTube monetization. You mean, David Arden? JD Williamson, Jill just reminded me that I need an external sound card to get digital modes working. Don't have it anymore. Oh, really? On no devices? Come on. You got a laptop? Yes, Amcom. That tells me. You, Calvin Morgan. I remember something called Hamcom and the early 90s. Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember a DOS-based. If any of you guys that did satellite tracking, I remember a DOS-based satellite tracker, which was the first in the world that if you had a VGA display, which was still something that not a lot of people had back then in the early 90s, it was the first software that actually had a map on which the satellites were displayed. I still remember using an old DOS machine, and it would take a long time to just get a list of all the satellites that were actually coming in the next 48 hours. It was just crazy. Just crazy. Oh, man. I need to see mammal flesh on burning charcoal. Actually, you know what, Rufus Newt? I have some leftover ground beef. So the first thing I thought when I saw the ground beef in my fridge is, oh, I'm gonna eat some hamburgers on the barbecue after the show tonight. So that's what I'm gonna do. Hamburgers on the barbecue, and I got a bottle of wine, so I think I'm gonna get drunk tonight. I'm gonna open that bottle of wine, have a hamburger on the barbecue, and do some radio. I want to do some radio tonight. I want to listen into some stuff. There's WBCQ at 0100 UT. I believe they have Alan Wiener live. Alan and his wife. Maybe they will talk about that 500 kilowatt, 9330 kilohertz transmitter, and do some radio listening, I guess. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. You, Kevin Morgan, has an 8086 PC in the back room with some MS-DOS running, and Hamcom was the main program used. Wow. Wow. Yes, Simon Templar, frequency. What the frequency are we going to do? Wine after the beer gives a cheer. You got to fix the antenna while doing barbecue. Don't burn. You know, the dangers of that, Rufus, is that if you spend too much time fixing your antenna, you're going to burn whatever's on the barbecue. Nothing like wine and burgers. Yeah, Arbitron is pretty good. Arbitron is the best satellite tracking software, for sure. I will be listening to the field day events tomorrow, PW3 UK. I'm not going to say anything that means yes or no, but there's a possibility I'll do a live show for field day, but I'm not sure. So tomorrow, stay tuned to the possibility of getting a field day special show. I was thinking about it all week, and I thought maybe Matambali, splash a little wine and olive oil in a pan and saute some mushrooms to put on the burgers. What I do when I do burgers, now we're talking about burgers, I take, ground beef, and I will cut a little French onion in very small pieces, 1 clove of garlic in little small pieces, and I will actually put that in the ground beef and do my patty for the hamburger with onion and garlic inside, and put a little, salt, pepper, and cook it like that. And so that is my little hamburger trick. But mushroom's a good thing, and sometimes you can just, do a little. I like to do a little sauce sometimes. I do like a little, I take one of the things that I do is also sometimes I will have some onion. I'll have some onion with a little bit of maple syrup, and have that cook a little bit, and put that on top of the patty in my hamburger, which is just so delicious. I'm really, really, really getting hungry talking about food right now. So it's kind of fun, and it's kind of good. Cliffhanger show. Rodolfo65 just updated my Asus T100 tablet with the latest Windows 10 updates, and then I loaded RZR Uno 131, connected the RSP1, working great, less than 35% CPU. RZR Uno works great in Windows 10, absolutely. So, go make burgers at 1:20 a.m., JD Williamson. That looks like me when I'm drunk from a bar. I remember a friend of mine telling me once, hey, what are you doing? I said, I got home from the bar at 3 a.m. Decided to do hamburgers and a barbecue. So hey guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. I'm getting hungry. I will be going and doing that, my little hamburgers and barbecue. I'm not pronouncing myself officially, but stay tuned. Who knows what happens tomorrow? There could be a special live show for, field day. I don't know yet. If there's nothing, sorry guys. I don't want you guys to be all hyped up at something that doesn't happen. But, maybe. Who knows? Don't forget donations, paypal.me/shortwave, or at the Yahoo email if you want to donate a little something. And so tomorrow, I don't know. And if not, well, next week we will have a digital only show where we'll decode digital modes. I mean, we've been on for 3 hours and 23 minutes. That's not bad. We beat our record today. 167 was the number that I recorded, which is the highest ever we've had. So we beat our record today, guys, which is kind of cool. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show today, the midwinter broadcast, which is always kind of a special and unusual thing. And stay safe, my friends. Always fun to have you guys here. And take care. It's really, really always amazing to have great fans like you guys. That is all I can say. So take care. And hey, Jay Bacon, nice to have you here. Have fun. Have a great barbecue, whatever you're doing. Stay safe. And see you at the latest next week at 20 UTC. And digital mode only show. And who knows, maybe before next week. Bye, my friends. Stay safe, please. Okay? Love you all.